To call this regular meeting of council to order. First, I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional unceded territory of the Stanawas First Nation. First item on the agenda is adoption agenda. I'll just make that motion that the November 26, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be adopted with additional information for items 8A and 8B as presented. Is there a second? Second by Councillor Savage. Any additions, deletions? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll move to calling the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. That takes us on to mayor and council verbal updates. We'll start down at Councillor Mundell and Councillor Jones.
Nothing for me, but happy to see so many people
Councillor
here.
Savage.
Yes, thank you. So my first update is the beer in Costa Rica is too light and too watery. And the cautionary note is that the wealth that comes into Costa Rica never gets down to the average Joe, the common guy. So that's too bad. A cautionary note for what we do here to make sure that the working people and the residents are looked after. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Lerner.
Thank you, Your Worship. Noting that it is the holiday season, it's a joyous time for many, but can also be a difficult time for some. And some people need help, and some people can help. And this weekend on the 30th is the Rotary Food Drive for collection at people's homes. So that's something to note that they have that. You can go on to the Lantzville Rotary Facebook page, or I think they have a website to see that. And also the Legion, Lantzville Legion is collecting items and food for a hamper for a family in need, so you can check in with them as well. And if people need help, that's always available. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you for the updates. For myself, I will pass tonight. We have a pretty heavy agenda, so I'd like to get into that right away. We'll just let folks settle in here. Okay, it looks like everybody is settled in, so we'll move on to item 4B of the agenda. So we have under the delegation, we have Mr. Darwin Mellum, one of the applicants slash owner for the Superior Road Regional Service Area application. So when you're ready, you can go to the microphone and oh, you got to press the button, make it go red. Yeah. And technically, well, we don't need your name and address, so go ahead.
Mayor, Council, CEO Leshar, and Director Robinson. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to the District of Lantzville's proposed amendment to the official community plan for the Superior G lands. The District of Lantzville initiated rezoning the site to highway service commercial because it is a key designated special plan area property. The OCP created special plan areas to concentrate intense development and high density zoning in order to allow the rest of the community to maintain a semi-rural atmosphere. Lantzville staff, the CAO and council identified that the size and location of the Superior G property is ideal to serve the community at a higher and better use and should not be underdeveloped. The District of Lantzville, with the landowner's assistance, had 3 public information meetings in October of 25. The meetings were extremely well attended and positive. The in-person format was comfortable and allowed residents to ask questions openly and speak candidly. Positive comments overwhelmed all of the meetings, as most people understood the goals of the application and were in favor of development in this location. One person mentioned light pollution as he thought development may interfere with his personal stargazing. The district has a dark lights policy, dark skies policy, which will address this problem. Many expressed support to move forward and spur new vitality to the community. There are only a handful of existing residents who are personally affected by increased traffic, and most of these people attended. The main concern was their present access situation and if it would worsen. In discussions, these neighbors recognized that their current access is not great. They identified poor visibility and speeding on a sharp corner as a concern that already exists. We highlighted the road improvements that will improve their current situation. We also committed to work with the affected owners towards the best possible access design for their property. The Winds neighborhood and residents beyond the entrances of the site will or should not be affected, as there is no traffic to be directed beyond the development. We did hear one concern of not being able to ride horses any longer on Superior Road. Assurance was given that there will be a multi-use trail and buffer between Superior Road and the development. The taxation dollars that will benefit Lantzville are enormous, as identified by Lantzville's CFO and set out in the as set out in the Urban Systems Report commissioned by the District of Lantzville. Best practices for healthy communities promote commercial industrial tax base to assist in the burden of residential taxpayers. This project will bring servicing to the top end of the property at Normal Road, Normal Drive. The Superior G development will alleviate the financial burden of water to the Winds over the above water grant, allowing residences to receive water servicing at little to no cost to them. Municipalities intentionally develop key highway frontage property into commercial uses. The size of this property allows for enough development to create synergy that will attract dynamic businesses and justify costly infrastructure, resulting in a successful community. The park and waterfall are beautiful natural amenities that will add to the community. A multi-use path along Superior Road will enhance lineal connections, act as sound buffering, safety, and beautification. Traffic professionals and the Department of Highways have identified upgrades that will improve safety and access to the intersection of Superior Road and the Island Highway. Traffic calming roundabouts, turning lanes, exits, and Superior widening will improve traffic flow and mitigate the current speeding issues. Besides providing infrastructure, this development will create business, employment, and economic opportunities for Lantzville, including spin-off for existing businesses. If this application moves forward successfully, it will ensure that this development, jobs, and business opportunities will remain in Lantzville, benefiting Lance villagers, not adjacent jurisdictions. Economics, location, and provincial mandates dictate that the Superior G property is never going to be developed into any type of low density. Thus, traffic increases are inevitable with any development on the site. The public information meetings provided an opportunity for residents to review the application benefits and impacts, ask questions, voice their opinions, and engage in informed discussion with an opportunity to follow up with writing if they wished. As mentioned, the conversations, questions, and feedbacks were decidedly positive. Social media has created an easy way to connect with family, friends, and like-minded people. However, social media as a forum for free and open public discussion, unbiased, informed input, and conversation is a quagmire. This type of online interaction should be given limited relevance with respect to informed decision-making. Mayor and Council, I believe you have an important upcoming decision to make for every resident and taxpayer in Lantzville. And the truth is, a planned commercial industrial development offers quiet nights, professional landscaped and maintained grounds, and a great reliable neighbors. Thank you for this time.
Great, thank you for the presentation. At this point, this isn't an opportunity for council to get into a robust discussion. However, if there are any clarification questions about the information presented, I will permit those. So go ahead, Councillor Savage. And then
Yes,
Councillor Lehner.
thank you, and good evening. Thanks for your presentation. What was generally the feedback you heard from the open house meetings? There was 3 of them you had.
There were, I mean, obviously there were a lot of questions for clarification. There was obviously some people that are concerned with the traffic or getting something across from them. But the attitude or the meetings were all very positive. I mean, everybody was very positive. I mean, there were people that thought, you know, you could use residential or whatever, but it was not, you know, it was nothing negative about the development. And quite frankly, I think it was basically positive, you know.
Yes, okay, thank you. And the main thing that I've heard is the traffic, as you mentioned. And it's basically that section from the highway to the property.
Yes.
And how do you see that eventually working out? Are there any updates there, or?
Well, and, you know, the traffic engineers and the highways that's the design that they've laid out, they're happy with. And the roundabouts actually, they left it open, actually. It could be lights, but in discussions with staff at the time, roundabouts were the preference, and roundabouts handle the traffic easier, quicker, and there's no waiting for people if they're coming off from the other direction or out of their driveways. So I think we'll try our best to work with wherever we can do some sound buffering or whatever we can do in that regard. But double laning a new road with roundabouts is going to make a huge difference there. You know, so I think it'll work fine, and we will work with the neighbors and see. We have to adjust some of their driveways. That's what we'll do. You know.
Yeah, sort of to,
Most people were fine with it. You know.
yeah.
I mean, the most upset person is right on the corner, but he's always had a bad driveway. So it'll probably improve his situation too, you know. But when we get into the design, you know, it's not going to worsen the traffic.
Yeah, yeah. And just to conclude, I think that would be helpful to have you know, a specific design from the highway end to sort of show how the residents wouldn't be impeded with traffic, you know, going home up to the winds and so on, versus the people that are just coming into the supply shopping experience sort of thing. So yeah, great. Well, thanks very much.
Councillor Lerner.
Thank you. Just a few questions. I appreciate you coming to present about your application. And I had, one was specific to the feedback itself. I have, anyone who has sent a letter in that has copied council, I've seen it, but there is presumably a lot of these forms that could have come in or been received since then based on these information sessions. And I'm wondering, maybe it's a question for staff or for yourself, but when it is that council will receive the remaining letters and feedback?
Okay, through to Director Robinson, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through the councillor. We are collecting all the written correspondence, both from the information sessions as well as everything that's been received since then, and that'll all be put together for council in a public engagement report that'll be presented to you when it comes out for second reading.
Okay, thank you. And if I may have a follow-up, so I'm just trying to understand it because I wasn't on council when the initial discussions took place, but I did see the press release and it talked about rezoning a portion of the property as light industrial or commercial. And I know when you presented previously, Mr. Malum, there were 2 different site plans and they were kind of both options. And then I'm wondering, were those both presented at the open houses And based on the feedback, is there an intention to narrow the site plan to a specific design?
There was talk of residential.
Sorry, you're gonna have to turn on your microphone there, please.
Sorry. I said there was initially, talk about residential, but that was taken off the table, 3 years ago or whenever we were doing it. And, because you need enough of the commercial and industrial to make the product work. But as far as design, we can't really get into the design until we, what the size of these properties are going to be. And I don't see where the internal design is going to affect any of the local community at all, like nobody. The roads there'll be a road in and a road out, and that's basically it. We have allowed for design into the News First Nations, and so there'll be a road going in there. But we have a basic design, but the exact sizes of the property is when we get into the subdivision. At this point, we're trying to get through the initial, and I guess what I'm saying is I don't see where that comes into the public's domain on what the size of the lots are.
All right, thank you. I look forward to seeing the feedback when it next comes forward.
Councillor Jones?
Yes, thank you for coming tonight, for your presentation. There has been a lot of engagement on this on social media, which is not a vehicle for a council for be making decisions, as you know. However, I think everyone is aware of it. And part of what we hear is just discomfort for not knowing more details. So further to Councillor Lerner's question, there were 2 site plans, A and B. One of them had what you referred to the last time you spoke to us as a large anchor tenant.
Yep.
And please correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you made it clear that you needed a large anchor tenant to make this development viable, because the build out for that would come first, and the build out for the rest would be over perhaps 20 years. Could you, that's the first part of my question, could you comment on that, please?
Well, we're hoping it's 5 years, first of all.
For the whole thing?
For the entire thing, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the intention absolutely is to have an anchor tenant, because I think that'll bring a lot of dynamics and a lot of interest to build out the site, and it'll really make the project. The other layout was, well, what if you don't have an anchor tenant? So that was asked for, so it was dotted in as smaller lots, and will it come to fruition? We'll look at it when we get to third reading where we're at. But the intention at this point would be one anchor tenant in there,
Thank
taking
you.
up, a fair bit of the property.
So further to that, if I may, in my opinion, for me, perhaps for others, it would be very helpful to have more information before making any major decisions here. I recognize that puts you in a difficult position. But at the same time, the talk is all going around, and the talk is Costco. That's no big news to anyone. It's been out there on Facebook a lot. But of course, we have no idea if that is likely or if it could be something very different. But unfortunately, if I do also have to recognize that the situation with Costco in Vancouver has presented a lot of problems, in Surrey in particular with traffic. Listened to the afternoon traffic report last Friday, and it's the exit volume from Costco that is blocking up the entrance to the highway and backing up the highway. So when I hear residents not knowing what to think, what to believe, what not to believe, getting concerned about issues, particularly around traffic. And then I see some of these issues over there on the mainland. I think these questions need to be addressed, and more information needs to be available to residents, prior to making decisions. So awkward as that may be for you, if you have any solutions to that or can help at all with more information, I think it would be appreciated.
I do know that the Costco application in Surrey did receive unanimous approval last week. And it started off very lopsided. Disapproval was up here and it reversed at the end. And, but I think what I can say is the large box would be our, if we have to make a decision and erase the others, we're happy to do that and leave it as a big box site. In saying that, the traffic reports have all been designed for a maximum traffic that could possibly come out of there, okay? And they look at other communities, other areas, and at anything, at any big box, whether it's, you know, Woodgrove or wherever it would be, it handles that amount of traffic. And so that's where they came up with the roundabouts, and that is the design that's there. And I have to take it that the, you know, we had a very well-renowned traffic engineering company plus the Department of Highways working together for 18 months to get this approved. And it is approved to handle whatever amount of traffic that is required or that comes out of there.
Yeah, just go ahead, Councillor Jones.
Thank you. So just to follow up on that, I did see the traffic study. Like many people who live in this area, I do go by the Costco in Nanaimo up here, which I gather is quite a bit smaller than if this were to happen at G. And the traffic there is very often backed up on Applewood as people come out, and then a long stream of people going in along the old highway there. So it's hard for me to, you know, dismiss the concerns, which have been a lot over the traffic issue. So I just think that needs a little further somehow examination.
So
And
questions,
that's
Councillor
all I
Jones?
have
I'll let
to say
Mr.
on
Allen
that.
respond.
Thank you.
To use Costco as an example, a lot of their stores are 25 or 30 years old, and they probably weren't designed for that amount of traffic. I think some of the intersections in Nanaimo are a pathetic example of what they would do today. They're very, very bad. And I think they could use some, you know, upgrades in there, and it's not what they would do today. So I think all of them, Walmart, all of them would probably want a different traffic configuration. So the one thing about it, we wouldn't proceed with anybody if we didn't know the traffic was going to work, period. And with that, we can come back to council at the time because it'll be a bit of an ongoing process to get this to happen. And but it's whoever it is a good opportunity.
Any further clarification questions? Go ahead, Councillor Mundell.
Just, I know we're gonna probably beat this traffic thing to death, but are there any other options that are available other than the one that's been presented thus
For
far?
traffic?
Yes.
No, because there's, to complicate it, the News First Nations wants to come through with traffic from the service station as well. And Highways has been looking for a long time at putting an overpass in. And they keep waffling between coming in at the fire station or coming in halfway on the Superior property and servicing both the First Nations and the G property. And that, as my last conversations with them, that was their preference. And basically, every intersection within the, on the bypass is going to fail within 10 years, including the Superior one won't because we'll be repairing it, you know, so it could become a third option down the road, you know. But to build overpasses, no, there's no option of that. You know, not from the developer.
Yeah, maybe not
yeah.
so much an overpass, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if a service road or some kind of other sort of merging off ahead of the intersection would be an option onto a service road or something like that. I don't know, but I'm just trying to think of any other potential options that could
We
maybe
will look
take
at
the
that,
stress off.
But until we know we're moving ahead,
Fair enough.
it's a huge thing. But what I can say is we will not proceed with anything in there until we have the traffic rectified. And at this point, Department of Highways, if you go through the report, has it pretty well laid out. I don't know, Brian, if you have anything further on that, that's pretty other than they do give some timelines.
Mr. Henning, you'll have to go to the microphone, so it's recorded. Thank you.
All I can add to that is the rail corridor fronts this property between the highway. And the highway and the railway corridor are diverging. So getting an access anywhere along that frontage other than Superior doesn't work at the moment. So we're limited to Superior Road.
Any follow-ups, Councillor Mundell? Okay, additional questions? I know we've got Councillor Jones second time. For myself, just probably through to staff, while we're having this presentation, if you can just outline the next steps, where we're at in the process.
Of course, Your Worship. Basically, after tonight's council meeting, staff will be suggesting bringing second reading forward to council in the new year, early in the new year. And if second reading is successful, a public hearing will be scheduled. As council knows, and for the benefit of the audience, there's 4 readings to every bylaw. You get your first 2 readings and you get a public hearing. Third reading is where the decision is essentially made, and then fourth reading is adoption. So currently the bylaws have had first reading, so we'll be bringing second reading to council in January.
Okay, thank you for that. That's all I have. So second time speakers or questions, again, clarification. We do have a big agenda, so go ahead, Councillor Jones.
Yes, thank you. A couple more things, please. Another concern that I'm seeing a lot from the community is talk about, oh, there may be a gas station, and some comments around that. Some are due to the environment, some are due to potential conflict with the gas station that the Sonawas has. Are you willing to have the option for a gas station removed from the rezoning so residents have some clarification on that, or is that on the rezoning permitted uses?
It's on the rezoning for permitted uses, but only on a user that's over 100,000 feet.
Okay, so it could be on
So
the
it's-
large anchor tenant lot.
That's the only place it could possibly
Right.
go. Yeah.
Thank you. And then the second is, are you able to give any timeline to provide where more information may be provided? Because the other concern I hear a lot is that this is close to 60 acres of land and there's very little, detail. I understand the reasons why you can't predict exactly who's going to go in there for industry, but whatever you can give to residents, I think would be helpful. And do you have any timeline for further information?
Probably pretty hard, other than, the traffic flow will work for whatever's put on there. That it'll handle and approve for whatever daily or hourly number of cars. But until we get to third reading, we can't really move ahead with anything.
Thank you.
Additional questions from council? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Mundell.
And you mentioned briefly about back in the day when there was a strip of residential that was considered up at the top. I'm assuming it was at the top of the development plan. Would you consider that as an option going forward, or is it your vision for this and your focus is that it will be all commercial industrial?
I mean, I think at this point we would not, just because of the immense cost of doing it and the amount of revenue that would have to be generated to pay for this, because it's an absolute. It's probably the biggest. Well, no doubt, it's the biggest project for Lantzville ever. So I don't think we could do that at this point. But down the road, who knows if we can change it? Depending on who those tenants and anchor tenants are. And so we'd have to move forward with it. And to be clear, if we start getting into engaging at third reading, we still have to do fourth reading and everything has to work. So we will certainly, engage with staff all the way through the process.
Okay, thank you. That's just some feedback that I had heard from the community around what they had thought was coming.
Yeah.
was going to be some commercial, but more of like a buffer between what's already there on Superior. Not necessarily the same design or same lot sizes, but a buffer row of housing on each side of Superior, and then having a mix below.
There was never a buffer running along Superior Road. What there was discussion on was doing intense residential at the top of the hill where the view is, but we haven't gone there yet, you know,
Okay.
so.
Okay, Counselor Jones.
Thank you. Pretty sure this is my last question.
No problem.
Going back all the way to 2010, there's been talk and plans about this development, and one of them speaks about the parkland dedication. And I see there is parkland dedication, which includes the riparian zone for Northston Creek along Superior Road. Thank you, that's excellent. However, the concerns are that that is inadequate parkland dedication for development of this size. This was before development of this size was envisioned. The need for more parkland than just the riparian area was mentioned, and in particular identified as potentially going up in the southwest corner of the property. Have you considered that, adding to this small parkland dedication that we have in the riparian area?
There's really no need for it at this point. I mean, I think that park is a very nice dedication, along with the strip along Lantzville Road with the pathways. There's going to be obviously a holding pond and some work done in there yet, which will add to parkland or wetland dedication, but without intense residential, there's no need for us to put any park anywhere else. And so.
Any follow-ups, Counselor Jones?
Only that I don't know how you justify that position, so that may be for some further discussion, but I find it difficult to. Parkland green space is valuable wherever you can get it. It's not dependent on the number of residents, in my opinion, who are actually in the area. That's all I have to say on that. Thank you.
Okay. I think the only feedback I can give on that is we are trying to follow the district's lead on this rezoning, and it was to create a tax base without overpowering the district with residential, and that's basically where that went. And any discussion of further parkland was to do with residential, and I think, you know, if you're following the lead now and going with intense residential, it probably doesn't make the commercial work, so we'd have to go there. So unless that's the direction we could make work, but at this point we can't. And so, I mean, intense residential is with the provincial mandate is very large, and I don't think that would be the direction that the district would like to go. So.
Now I have a question. So, since there's been discussion around intense and residential and so forth, then maybe you can speak to, you know, and what would be the ballpark numbers to make that work, considering the magnitude of the offsite improvements? Because I know when we've spoken, I think the magnitude of the offsite improvements are about 30 million, and maybe you can correct that for the record if that's the case. But in order for that, for the numbers to work, what kind of intensive residential would we be talking about as a plan B?
That's a good question. That's a tough one, because we'd have to look at the regional demand and everything else too. So that would be another exercise. At this point, it's not on the table at all to do that, you know. I guess if we don't have to do a bunch of the upgrades and do that, we could look at it, but you're not talking 200 or 300 units anymore. If you multiply that by 4 with the provincial mandate, you're talking, what, 1,200 units? 800 to 1,200? And so, you know, I don't know.
And just as a follow-up, is that because of the magnitude? Like, even though the offsite improvements would be probably reduced if it wasn't for commercial use, or what have you, but is the magnitude of the costs of servicing and so forth still gonna necessitate huge residential?
Well, we'd have to go back and look at everything, and you know, it's also the time value of money. Do we want to be there? You know, is there going to be demand for this residential? Is it the highest and best use? Because if you look at other municipality, there is no municipality that's going to do housing in a location that's perfect for, you know, essentially any type of service commercial. Okay, it wouldn't make sense to most municipalities. Most municipalities are trying to get a mix of and balance the tax base with commercial industrial, and it's probably 80-20 in that range. And they don't like to change off of that because it doesn't work. Where you end up with is the taxes for the residential end up too high because, you know, there's only a certain level that residential will pay or can afford to pay for the tax base. So it's a whole exercise that would have to be looked at. And being that it's probably the best spot on the Central Island for highway service commercial at this point, I don't know if that's a worthwhile exercise.
Okay, thank you for your candor. Anything further before we say goodbye? Councillor Jones?
Thank you for your patience with me tonight, Mayor Swain. The last question is around permitted uses. Again, I'm just kind of going on this. Residents really are asking for more information on what this might look like because it's so difficult to visualize. There is a list of permitted uses, as you know, and I'm wondering if perhaps you'd be willing to review that list and see if there are any that you would be comfortable trimming down from the list. Some are environmentally more friendly than others. Some have impacts in other ways that are, you know, more or less desirable. So perhaps that's the direction to go that could be helpful.
We're certainly not looking at anything. I mean, industrial, I think, is a bit of a wide base. You know, that could be a sawmill. That's not what we're thinking. You know, more for us is, you know, one of the appliance stores, okay, that go into the industrial place, or the geotechnical office, or, you know, that type of thing. There's no heavy industrial going into there, and I mean, that needs clarification, we can do that, but I thought that was fairly clear, you know. I mean, it'd be a great place for a vet or something like that, but as far as industrial, there's no truck stops going in there.
Okay, Councillor
Thank you.
Jones?
Thank you. Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. It's within the list of light industrial uses that are outlined to take a look at. There are
Okay.
some that.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands going up, so thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on in the agenda, so we're on to the consent agenda. And are there any items being requested to be removed from the consent agenda? Go ahead, Councillor Savage, what one?
Yes, if I could have, please, item 5A removed, thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'll make the motion to move items 5B and 5C in the consent agenda. Is there a seconder to that? Call Councillor Lerner. I'll move to calling the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. I'll get it on the floor that the District of Lantzville Official Community Plan Bylaw number 150, 2019 Amendment Housing and Housekeeping Bylaw number 416, 2025 be adopted. Second by Councillor Savage. I have nothing to say. Go ahead, Councillor Savage.
Yes, thank you. I've no intention whatsoever of delaying the adoption of the community plan amendment package tonight. We do have a deadline, and I'm satisfied with the changes we made and very pleased that how we more than met our housing needs report. But there's one item I noticed today which was not included in the list of changes made, referred to as the tracked changes in the OCP. They were all outlined in red. And that is in 3 of, it's just a clerical error, but I'll be, voting to adopt this tonight, but noting that there's some housekeeping and clerical errors that need amending in the new year. And this one has, in 3 of the special plan areas, the Upper Ware Road, Clark Med special plan area, the Superior Road G property plan area, and the West Village West special plan area. Inserted in the land use table is the phrase target 100 units in reference to the support of seniors housing. Well, that phrase came from Village South, and our current OCP only has that phrase in Village South, where the target is 100 units for attracting seniors' care right in the village, in Village South. It was never intended to be in these 3 special plan areas I mentioned, so I don't know how it happened, how it got in there. It was never brought to council's attention as a change made to the OCP, so I only mention it so it's now on the public record that it was a clerical error. And there was a couple of others, no one's fault, it just happens when you're opening up an OCP. And in the new year, it's important we remove these errors that happened during this process that shouldn't be in the OCP. So in the new year, council can look at making these housekeeping changes. So I thought I'd just mention that, and otherwise I'm happy to adopt this tonight. Thank you.
We're at adoption, so it's not really up for debate. However, I don't see Councillor Savage's comments as a debate, but go ahead, Councillor Jones. This, again, we're not debating this at this point.
Yeah, I understand we're not debating this. I've also noted these errors, additional 100 target units on those 3 special planning areas. So through the chair to our CAO, is this a clerical error or were these changes intentional?
Yeah, through to Director Robinson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to the councillor. Well, these changes have been here since the bylaw was first introduced. If council wants to clean them up in a housekeeping amendment in the new year, as Councillor Savage suggested, I would say that that would be a recommended course of action.
Councillor Jones.
Yes, the problem there is that if we do adopt this tonight, this is our OCP until those changes are corrected. And I know we can't debate it, so I'll just say personally, I'm not willing to adopt an OCP. This error it's quite a significant error. Does have implications. We were not aware of it. We asked for track changes. I have a document here with all the track changes. Thank you for that. This change is not shown in the track changes. We did ask staff if all track changes were shown. We were told yes. So we have inadvertently misled the community because this information we have said is only what is in the track changes is what the changes have been. So I can't sit here comfortably and put my hand up for adoption, having misled the community on this. It's not. I don't need to point fingers and put blame anywhere. I'll just say that we do have time to correct this, to make it right. I know there's a deadline. It's the end of December. But we can get the work done that needs to be done to get the correction and still meet the deadline. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go through to staff, and I do recognize you, Councillor Lerner.
I'm actually going to refrain from commenting right now, so I'll just wait for Councillor Lerner's comment.
Okay, Councillor Lerner.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I do recognize that there's a clerical error in here, and that is something that I just want to note, and through Your Worship to staff, the deadline for the adoption is December 31st, after which we could be subject to a ministerial order that overrides our entire OCP. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I just want to be clear about using the word clerical error. This has been on the bylaw several times, and it was never an issue till today. So saying that staff misled the public is not accurate.
Thank you. My apologies. Maybe the word typo or something is what I was looking for. But in this case, what I'm alluding to is the idea that with this, if we were to want to make this change before December 31st, I'm under the impression we would have to do multiple rescindings, multiple readings, potentially a public hearing, and that all of those have statutory notice periods in the number of weeks. Is that correct? Okay, so my recommendation is the same as Councillor Savage's, which is to pass it tonight. Otherwise, our entire OCP and zoning could be overridden by the province, and then we can immediately adjust this in January.
Okay, I'm going to move to calling a question on this. All
I
those in
don't think
favor?
everybody has spoken.
Oh,
that is
sorry, you
interested
wish
to
to speak. Go
speak.
ahead,
Yes.
Councillor Mundell.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't see your.
So I'm also concerned about passing something that we aren't fully happy with. We do have this final reading because we are the sort of still going through the process of evaluating the document and seeing if there are errors. So that is part of the process. That's why we're here tonight, this is the final piece in the process. And yes, we've found something in here that isn't in alignment with what we were expecting. So I don't understand why we wouldn't be looking at trying to fix it before, and we do have time. I'm not going to be sort of persuaded by threats of ministerial orders. That's not going to sway the way I feel about an error. Well, I don't even know what, I don't know if I'll call it an error. I don't want to say that it was intentional or not, but it's something that we don't want in there. And that's where we're at. So before passing something that we don't want in there, why would we approve it? So I don't agree with going forward with this final reading and approving it with something that I'm going to be very uncomfortable that's in the document. Even though a housekeeping amendment could come, that could come in a year from now. And in that time frame, we may get a proposal that has, now we have an extra 100 units for seniors housing in it. So I just don't feel comfortable with that. So no, I won't be supporting this.
Okay, so Councillor Lerner?
Can I just ask a clarification question through to staff?
Yeah, it's clarification, sure.
Yeah, okay. In the document, the Village South says a bonus density of an additional 100 units for seniors housing, whereas the other zones do not say any bonus density. So they just say that 100 units could be seniors housing. I know it says target, but is that an additional 100 or a target within the total? I just want to understand.
Through your worship to the councillor, it would be a policy that any future zoning bylaw amendment application would be reviewed against for compliance. So again, you're not instilling any property rights in this. It's an OCP policy that if the property owners in those special plan areas wanted to pursue that, they could make a zoning bylaw application. And at that time, you could also turn it down for any number of reasons as council retains discretion over zoning bylaw amendments. But if you don't like the policy that's in here at fourth reading, you can ask staff to prepare a housekeeping amendment in the new year, and then we can introduce new bylaws.
Okay. Is there new information, Councillor Jones?
No new information. I'd requesting a recorded vote, please. Thank you.
Okay, recorded votes being requested, so we'll do that. Yeah, the only thing I'll add to this is the fourth reading is on a housekeeping bylaw. So we can do a housekeeping in the new year as well. And sounds like staff is well aware how urgent this is in two councils. So I'm sure it will be coming forward early in the new year. With that being said, recorded votes been requested. All those in favor and those opposed, Noting Councillor Mundell and Councillor Jones are opposed, it carries. All right, so that takes care of the consent agenda. Moving on to public input period. So persons recognized by the chair to speak must first state their name and address for the record and may speak once for up to 2 minutes unless council resolves otherwise, and are limited to providing comment regarding items listed on this evening's agenda. It does read excluding public hearing topics. That's only if we have a public hearing topic that has gone to public hearing, so that it would be off limits, but there's nothing on this agenda that is off limits that people can speak to. So comments must be directed to the chair and not to be directed to individual council members, staff, or the audience. It must not include personnel issues. What's not listed in the agenda is please no clapping or booing. We need to make sure everybody who goes to the podium feels welcome to do so. So on that thread, do we have anybody remotely registered this evening? We have one. Okay, we'll go to that. Oh.
Just like point of personal privilege.
Abdul
Just hold on,
Almar, do you
personal
wish to
privilege.
speak?
Hold on 2 seconds. Personal privilege.
Is it possible to turn off the heating above here? It's very, very warm.
Yeah, let's get the heat. All right. Okay, so we'll go to those in the council chambers who wish to speak. If you want to speak,
And
go
is
to the
a
microphone.
point of order, please?
What's your point of order?
Yeah, pardon me if I'm wrong. I thought you removed 2 items from the consent agenda, or was it just? the
No,
one?
we already voted on those, Councillor Savage.
Yeah, no. Did we remove 2 items or just 1 from the,
Just one.
just 1? Thank you.
All right, so we got one person going to the microphone. I don't see a line, so you gotta go on the other side. No, that person is not. Okay, so just press the button, name and address for the record, please. And just the item that you're speaking to would be helpful too, if you know it.
Yeah, my name is Blake Camp, 7085 Huddlestone Road. Just about the G property, I've been thinking about, there's been a lot of discussion about traffic. And I have a question for any of the councilors through the chair. I have a question regarding the traffic. There's been a lot of talk about the traffic dumping out onto the highway. From if there was a Costco as the main tenant in there, there would be an extreme amount of traffic there. There's another concern about people rerouting, taking a detour through the main drag going up through Lantzville on Lantzville Road. So I just wanted to ask if there's been any thought or concerns or discussion about that.
Yes, this is just for input. This isn't to have a back and forward dialogue with respect to agenda items. So we're just here to listen to your input regarding the agenda items. Thank you. If you have questions, you can always write into the district, and our planner would probably be happy to respond. And I believe there is a creation of a question and answer document that's being prepared for community consumption as related to this very topic. So next person, if you wish. Again, just name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, it's Rob Mann at 6865 Norm Morel. And my comment that I wanted to share was I've read through the traffic assessment, impact assessment report. I actually totally agree with the recommendation in there. And if you play that out, it probably means, depending on how you interpret it, 5 to 7 lanes coming northbound on Superior to Highway 17, or the highway, sorry, 19, thank you. So with egress, double lanes, turning, etc., depending on how many they actually put in there, 5 to 7 lanes. And if you stand there and look, that means expropriating or appropriating, whatever the word is, not just little driveways, but some major properties on both sides, because it's 2 lanes, that's all it can be. And it needs 5 to 7 to fit the recommendations in the impact study. And then miraculously, those 5 to 7 lanes going both directions are going to go in a single lane roundabout, and then you're going to add 53-foot trucks on there. And I would think you should put more thought onto that intersection because it can't get to 7 lanes without saying you're going to buy some houses and knock them down.
Additional speakers. Again, name and address for the record, please.
Lance Gesselbrock, 7365 Spence's Way. I want to do a brief history of the Superior Road rezoning. 2020, it was a council initiative to rezone that property. In 2023, in July, a letter was sent to the Sinawas Nation saying that it was of a high priority to rezone that property and that it was going to happen soon. That was 3.5 years ago. Nothing has happened. I'm sure they're wondering what's going on by now. The property is now to July 2025. We had first reading. That's 5 months ago. People are kind of think, what do you got to do to get to second reading in this town? And I realized the Foothills only took 15 years, to get to second reading. But this is going on for 5 years. And what happens is we get all kinds of bad information floating around in the metasphere. And the Facebook page is the worst offender of that. We're having information being put into there by counselors. We have people putting false information in there deliberately. We have a petition that is completely false. It's filled with highly prejudicial assertions and just factually incorrect information. And my request to you is let's get the second reading quickly. I know there's a motion later on the agenda. I think it should be resoundingly defeated because if you try to put more information into the people, it's just you're trying to invite conflict. Right now, we're a visualist society. Put it on the website and let people look at it visually. Any more oral communication is going to be serving to conflict and confuse people. Final thing, let's have staff take control of this. This is a staff function. With having staff in control, you have a single source of information, not multiple sources, a single source.
Okay, that's.
And that
you're
is
over
how
your
you
time.
need to handle a very complicated situation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, additional speakers, name and address for the record if you choose to come up to the podium. Okay. We've got lots of people here this evening. It's going to be a hot mic, so let's keep going. Name and address, please.
My name is Ward Norcott. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife as well, 7253 Lantzville Road. I thank you, Council. Your Worship, we are here to voice our opposition to the proposed zoning change and development that would replace the existing home at 7261 Lantzville Road. It is proposed a mixed-use commercial residential development. The proposal represents a significant shift in the character, scale, and use of our neighborhood, and we believe it would negatively impact residents in several important ways. Now, is this the right venue to be speaking about this at this stage?
Yeah, you can give your input. Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Our roads were designed for residential flow, not commercial volume. Delivery trucks, extended operating hours, increased congestion in that area right across the street from the park. Proposes real risks to pedestrians, cyclists, children who play in the area. Second, noise and privacy. A business of this side would introduce early morning, late night noise, activity that directly infringes on the quiet enjoyment of our homes. The proximity to neighboring yards makes this especially impactful. It states in the proposal that vegetated buffers are provided to offer privacy to neighboring residential properties. There would be no privacy on either side for each adjacent property. According to the proposal, it's a parking lot and a fence on the north side property line, and a fence likewise on the south with the two-story building adjacent to Lantzville Road, looking right into house and the yard. Community character, our neighborhood is defined by homes, green space, and human scale environment. A commercial structure there would erode that identity, set a precedent for further commercial encroachment. Finally, I'm not sure about zoning designation, but I'll write it in here anyway. It exists to protect the well-being of our residents, maintain balanced development. Changing it for a single applicant, especially one whose project conflicts with the established plan, undermines that in the planning process. We want to address the offer of financial contribution towards upgrading the nearby.
Mr. Norcutt, I believe you've exceeded your time.
Oh.
You got 2 minutes. But,
2 minutes?
And I didn't hit start on my thing, but I'm pretty sure I gave you a healthy buffer on your 2 minutes. So how much more do you have to go?
Thank you for the healthy buffer.
I already gave you that, but how much more do you have to go on your remarks?
Probably at this point, only to say that no matter where this was in our community, between Joe's house and Bill's house, your house and my house, in our residence, I would be standing up here and being vehemently against it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. That was on me. I forgot to hit reset on my timer. So, additional speakers this evening. All right, well, you got one shot, but I think you only used up about a minute of your previous speaking time, so I'll permit that this evening.
Thank
I
you.
think our procedural bylaw is really silent on it, but if you can, keep it short at a minute, please. And just
Again.
name and address for the record again.
Yeah, again, my name is Blake Camp, 7085 Huddlestone Road. I just, without taking too much time, I just wanted to say, I just wanted to echo what the last speaker said.
Okay, thank you for keeping it brief. All right, so unless there's anybody further, this is gonna, opportunity slipping away. Okay, so we'll move on in the agenda. So we have under legislative matters, we have the District and Lantzville Community Plan Bylaw number 1502019 amendment for 7261 Lantzville Road Bylaw number 4202025. Okay, and District and Lantzville zoning bylaw number 1802020 amendment for 7261 Lantzville Road bylaw number 4212025. So Director Robinson, you're going to introduce this, and I'm sure there'll be a bit of a presentation, so go ahead, thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. I have a brief presentation, then I'm happy to answer any questions that council has tonight. Excellent. So tonight you have before you official community plan and zoning bylaw amendment application for 7261 Lantzville Road. The applicant, the property owner has applied for an official community plan and zoning bylaw amendment. It's located directly across the street from Huddlestone Park, just down the road from us here on Lantzville Road. The applicant has provided a detailed site plan which shows a two-story combined use building with 4 commercial units at grade, 4 commercial units on the second floor abutting Lantzville Road. And he also has an 8-unit townhome structure with 2 single-story accessible units on either side of the townhome, and then 6 family-sized townhouse townhouse units in the middle of the structure. There's also a surface parking lot that you can see shown in the renderings. The applicant has provided a series of renderings which are included in your agenda package for your review, as well as background reports and supporting information. So the townhouse units would have their own parking areas, and then the commercial and residential at the front would utilize the commercial parking area. The applicant is proposing community amenity contribution, which is detailed in their rationale letter, which includes upgrading the existing tennis court that abuts the site with new surface and replacing of the nets, construction of a new beach volleyball court with new nets, installing new picnic tables, and creating a trail connection through the property from Lantzville Road to the rear of the tennis courts, which is shown in the concept drawings that are also included in your package. So the applicant actually goes over the value, and I've reviewed the project in the context of our existing community amenity contribution policy, and it complies with the community amenity contribution policy. So tonight, you have before you first reading of the OCP amending bylaw and first reading of the zoning bylaw. So if you recall in the Local Government Act, after Bill 44, if there's no official community plan amendment, a public hearing is prohibited. However, there is an official community plan amendment required here. And so similar to other larger developments that need an OCP amendment, staff are recommending that council does first reading of the bylaws tonight, and then the direction be given to host a neighborhood meeting, public information meeting to collect input on the application. Council has discretion over the number and the types of public information meetings that are conducted. And then a public engagement report would be prepared to be returned to council with the second reading. I also have with me in tonight the property owner and the project architect, who are also available to answer any questions that council has. I'd be happy to take any of those questions right now.
Okay, through to council, and again, thank you for your presentation. I saw Councillor Savage's hand go up first. Go ahead. Questions?
Yes, thank you. I have a number of questions. I'll just do a few so other councilors can ask questions and I can come back to me. So the first one is the OCP amendment on page 242 of the agenda. The first one, which is item number 2 on that page, it says section 2.12 of our current community plan. It says permitted uses include residential uses, et cetera. Then it's changed to replacing that to add commercial uses. And is there a reason this 7.2.12 refers to all special plan areas? So is there a reason why commercial uses is now being inserted into all special plan areas when it's just one piece of property we're referring to in this development application?
I'm not sure if you're reading that quite correctly, Councillor, but I can definitely take a look at that. I think it's supposed to just apply to this special plan area.
I'm sorry?
It's supposed to just apply to this special plan area, the Village West special plan area.
Okay, it's supposed to, but it's got,
You may have the wrong numbering there, sir. If you're looking at the previous OCP.
I've got the current OCP, not the new one. On the new one, the numbers are wrong. They only apply to the current one. And on the current OCP, it states the district has adopted the following policies for village and special plan areas.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, it refers to number 2, and number 2 states permitted uses include residential uses, parks, recreation, utilities, places of worship, schools, and hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
And now in that section, it's proposed in this OCP amendment proposal that that's changed to add commercial uses. And that means that all the village and all special plan areas will now have a policy of allowing commercial. So you can have a look at that if you want to take time and answer it later, but I'm just going by what it says, and that's peculiar to me that an application on one property would result in all special plan areas adopting a new policy. And then the next, just to give you time to look into it, the next one is on the same topic, number 3 on page 242, and this is the amendment, OCP amendment being proposed tonight. It says that section 11.1.4.1 of the community plan is repealed, and the same story, it's got permitted uses now include commercial uses. Well, that 11 11.1.4.1, that applies to all of Village West Special Plan area. So instead of one property being involved, now the entire Village West, which basically runs to Peterson Road, bordered by Lynn Road and Lantzville Road, every property in there now will be subject to commercial. So if that's an error, that's fine. I'll give you time to check that and think about it. But that's,
Hey, Councillor Savage, I'm just going to interrupt you there, but I just want to at least allow staff an opportunity to respond. You've
Yep.
pointed it out. So Director Robinson, do you need time to take this away or do you have a response now?
I don't have the old version of the OCP in front of me, but I understand that if I can recall when I was writing this amendment, the intent is to not create a conflict with the OCP policies. For example, if the OCP for the Village West does not allow commercial uses, the council really should be amending that in order to allow a combined use building like this. So the intention is that the policy set, the OCP sets the overarching land use policies that would apply to an area, and then the actual site regulations would come through the zoning. But if you don't allow the uses in a use table in the OCP, then you really shouldn't be adopting a zoning bylaw that would be in conflict with that OCP. Yeah. So in some way, shape, or form, if this development moves forward, an OCP amendment is required to allow those commercial units on the main floor, if that makes sense, sir.
okay, so just to be clear, the intent then is to allow it in all of Village West? Was that the intent?
If council doesn't like the way that this is worded and you want us to reword it to do a site-specific for just this site to allow it to proceed forward, I can rewrite it that way if that's council's preference.
Okay, so those are the first two then. One applies to all special plan areas. The next one, number 3, applies to all of Village West. And I would also, you don't have to answer it now, but I'd also point out that with schedule number 4, refers to replacing 11.1.4, and that section has the 11 clauses in it. So if you're replacing 11.1.4, then you're removing all those 11 clauses and replacing it with the one clause that now allows commercial uses. I'm guessing, but I'm thinking the intent was to just replace the land use table for Village West, yeah. In which case...
It actually says that right after A, it says the supported land uses of the land use summary chart.
Okay. So it's referring to that, and okay, that's fine, thank you. And then my next question, if I'm going on too long, I'll give other councilors a chance. But with the parking, am I correct in seeing that it's the page after 233 in the agenda, and which is it's a very small chart, hard to read, but it's got the parking, it's the one that was submitted by the architect, and it's got on that one, yes, it's this page here, and it's got on there, it's hard to read, but it's got a summary of the parking, and am I correct in seeing that for small cars, it's short by 11 parking spaces, and for regular vehicles, it's short 3 parking spaces, and I'm guessing that's a total of 14 parking spaces there, or short 11 spaces total. It's 8 short for small cars, 3 short for regular vehicles, so am I correct in assuming that this proposal is short 11 parking spaces total? And a variance is needed for those?
Through your worship to the councillor, sorry, I don't have that page in my agenda, but I know the architect is right here. Perhaps he's better prepared to speak to that.
Yep.
Hi, good evening.
And maybe just state your name and just for the record, just.
I'm the
You're here,
architect
you're
of the
representing.
project, and my name is Atta Raman. You can call me by Atta or address me by Atta. Good evening, everyone. So there might be just a misinterpretation from the the schedule. So we are allowed 11 small parking, and we are only using 3 of those on site, but we are not short, or we are only showing 3 short for parking.
Okay, so, sorry, I didn't quite hear that. So you're not short 11 spaces? You're,
We're based on the calculation of the required parking. We are allowed to have 11 small parking, which is 25%, and we are only using 3 of those allowed parking stalls.
oh, okay, so there's no shortage then on
No.
parking? Right.
It's just in total, we are short by 3 parking only.
Oh, okay, so.
And we are
so-
supporting it with the
So you're
traffic
short
study.
on 3?
Yes.
With the recommendation in there that you'd need a variance for 3 parking
Right.
spaces. Yep. Great, thank you for clearing that, appreciate it. So that's fine, I'll leave. I got a number of other questions, but go ahead, other councilors, thank you.
So Councillor Lerner and then Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Yes, well, my parking question was answered, so it's 3 short in total. But that further, just to clarify, that is basically that there is an allowance where a maximum of 25% can be small cars. And this is not using that entire 25%. Am I interpreting that correctly?
That's correct. There's more regular size spaces than small car spaces.
I see, okay. I understand what was discussed earlier about the entire special plan area versus site-specific, and just for the record, my preference would be to, if this were to proceed, were to be only for this site and not for the entire area. So I understand tonight we're only considering first reading, which is introduction. There's no debate or anything, it's just introduction. After which there would be the motion to schedule public engagement sessions. Can we still proceed with first reading if we want it to be, if council desires it to be site-specific? Can that be changed at second reading? Or is it can? Okay. Thank you. And then as far as the public information sessions, that were there a particular timeline for those? And because I noticed it only states 1. My preference is for more than 1. Is there a specific timeline on when those would occur?
No suggested timeline. We'd have to look, for example, I know Coston Hall is very close to this site, so in my mind, it would make sense to ask the applicant to book some meetings at Coston Hall. But we just have to check the availability for the facilities and when the applicant is available to host those sessions.
Okay, thank you. And then I think probably last question with regard to this is the architectural drawings which take place on multiple pages here. So on the agenda, they're sort of right after the parking report. And they seem to, I understand that it shows commercial on the ground floor fronting Lantzville Road and apartment above, and then it shows sort of the townhomes buffered on either side by patio homes. Are the townhomes appear to be 2 stories, whereas the the townhomes appear to be 2 stories. The patio homes appear to be 1 story. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir. I believe the applicant's interest is in creating 2 accessible units on either side of the building, but perhaps I'll invite the project applicant to come up and just speak to the project motivation a little bit.
Good evening, I'm Russell McMahon, I'm the developer. Just to clarify, I'm not the owner of the property yet. I just have it under contract. Thanks to the mayor and council for having us here tonight and the taxpayers of Lantzville. So adding to that question of the 2 exterior units that are single stories, with speaking with staff, I know there's interest to, if you have the opportunity to create living for any age group. So our idea behind that was to have those 2 units as single families with any access necessary, whether it be wheelchair, elderly or young folk, purchasing the property if it came to that. And the whole time we've been open to discussion to potentially revising that to having other patio homes more or less with the project.
Any follow-ups? No? Okay. Councillor Jones?
Thank you. I have a lot of questions on this, and I will just speak sort of part 1 here to this. We have a OCP. This is in a special planning area, obviously, and the details and criteria for that special planning area are already laid out, as we know, in OCP and in zoning, and we are being asked for amendments to both tonight. In my opinion, the addition of commercial into the special plan area is a major thing. It's significant not just for this property, but for the potential domino effect, shall we say, throughout the whole special plan area. This special plan area starts at School Road, just across from the Legion there, goes all the way down to Peterson. It is just on the south side of Lantzville Road, and it extends as far south as Lynn Drive. So this is a large area. Introducing commercial into this special plan area is a big question. We are speaking just about this application tonight, so with respect to it, the OCP special plan does call for the road-facing side of developments to be a character that is semi-rural, residential. It's not, it's commercial with the units on top, so that's a fairly big concern, and I'm wondering, I'll try to get to
need
my
to get to
point,
questions,
Mayor
yeah.
Swain. My question is it fair to the developer to put this through to first reading and have you take this site plan and these amendments to an information session, which is time and expense to you, when, from what I can see here, there's more information that I would like. For example, Director Robinson, the sign says it's a site-specific proposed zone, Village Commercial 2 zone, but when I look at page 245 of the agenda, which is the amendment for the zoning, this does not appear to be a site-specific zone in that, for example, for permitted uses, it lists a number of things. Commercial training, community care, craft beverage processing, health service, hotel. There's a number of things on here. I don't understand why they'd be on this when it's a site-specific zone. So I have that question. And then when we take a look at some of the other things in this new zoning, we see changes that are drastically different from the special area plan. For example, the setbacks of the front setback being taken from 6 meters down to 1.5, the rear setback from 6 meters down to 3. The other setbacks similarly reduced. The parcel coverage in the SPA, maximum parcel coverage is recommended at 35%. This parcel coverage maximum is 100%. This is not in keeping with the character, in my opinion, that was intended in the SPA, and that might be something that residents have a lot to say about, and I'm just wondering, is this the time to go to an information session? Does the developer want to spend that money now, or can staff perhaps work with you a little further and give some more detailed information, narrow down a site-specific plan, and address some of the concerns that are being brought up tonight?
Okay, so we got a few questions there through to staff. I don't know if you caught them, but
I think so, sir, and through your worship to the councillor, I think it comes down to two questions, and perhaps I could explain the zoning bylaw amendment a little bit more clearly for you. So what the applicant has essentially applied for is they've taken the existing village commercial zone and they've asked to add the townhouse, mixed-use building, and row house forms. Those are on the permitted uses table. The rest of the zone is essentially the same as the existing village commercial zone. So they've taken the village commercial zone and they want to apply it to this site with the additional permitted uses. So that kind of works with how our existing zoning bylaw is structured, was when if you want to zone a property, it has to have a zoning reference. So what we're creating here is a village commercial zone 2, and then council is applying it to this one specific property, which is on your schedule 2 to bylaw 421 on page 247 of your agenda. It indicates that you're changing the zoning for this specific property from the future special area plan zone, or FSAP, which is essentially a holding zone, to the Village Commercial 2 zone or VC2 zone. So that's kind of how the zoning process is working. If as part of the public feedback, or if council wanted to provide comments to the applicant tonight, that's to say like, okay, well, I see you've just taken the VC zone, but I want you to take out hotel, and I want you to take out assisted living facility, because those don't apply to this zone. That's definitely feedback the council could provide to the applicant at this time. I'll let the applicant decide if they want to comment on if they want to proceed with having a public meeting at this time, or if they want to come back for a subsequent first reading.
I think my answer to that would be confirming that we're abiding by what we're proposing tonight. Which I don't know the answer to that, so George, I don't know if you can speak to that or not. Like what we're proposing tonight is in accordance with the OCP.
You're amending the OCP.
Sorry, yes. So what we're proposing on amending in the OCP, is there anything that's like, Counselor made it sound like there's something we're proposing here that's not in line with the bylaws, unless I misunderstood.
Let me have to speak to that. So again, you're applying to amend the OCP and the zoning bylaw, or the site specific, that's what you applied for. So if this is what you want to apply for and take it forward, we can schedule a public consultation meeting and then come back to council for second reading for amendments. If this isn't what you want to apply for, that's a bit odd, but okay, we can postpone first reading, give you an opportunity to amend what you want to apply for.
Yeah, no, this is what I want to apply for.
Okay. I think we've clarified that.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in, and then I see Councillor Mandel next. And maybe just, this is more of just a clarification. I guess I see this application as the developer coming in with a vision for the use of this property, and you know, and is gonna work through the OCP amendment and the rezoning to achieve that vision. So to me, it doesn't make sense, unless the applicant wants to abandon the vision. Is that, and maybe if the applicant wants to speak to it, like, is this the vision of youth as the applicant thinking this is the best use for that property? And I have a follow-up to that as well.
Yeah, I do not want to abandon the vision of what we have here. It's laid out pretty clearly. The vision came mainly from staff. I tied up this piece of real estate. I sat down with staff trying to respect what staff thinks the town needs and what the town would potentially want. And the whole vision behind this came from that. Speaking as for the commercial buildings and trucks coming late at night, et cetera, you know, speaking with staff and George and Adam specifically, in their opinion, what the town needs is more personal use businesses. So that's what we plan to have there if this project were to go forward. And again, speaking about the patio row homes on the ends, making sure we have the option for elderly to purchase if the project were to go forward. So the vision is what we want, it's clear, and it's all based off staff recommendations is how we proceeded with it.
Okay. And he kind of asked or answered one of the questions I was going to ask, and that was just around the commercial use, and that's for basically owner or operator kind of live above kind of situation. Is that what's the vision for this?
Yeah, so it's definitely part of the vision. It's the options there if you want to live work situation, which a lot of people are, you know, looking to do these days. They have the option to live above and own a business below in the commercial unit, or it's just for any type of personal use commercial space.
Okay.
Whether that be whatever it might be, hairdresser, dentist, bar, whatever, right?
Sure. And this could be for the applicant or for the planner, I'm not sure, but you know, recognizing the property is about 0.91 of an acre. I really don't like the hectare conversion or meters. I like acres, but that's why I'm converting it. You know, the way I see it is, you know, the size of that lot could easily be, it could be subdivided into 3 separate parcels. And then with Bill 44 being applied to it, that could end up being basically 12 units in total. Was this ever contemplated when looking at the property?
No.
Okay, thank you. That's all I've got. Councillor Mundell and then Councillor Jones.
Just a question through to staff, for the tennis court, volleyball court space. Is that beach, or it looks like the volleyball court, is that eating into the parking space that is already used for the school and that will likely potentially be used for the future daycare?
I don't believe so.
Okay, because I think we would get some feedback about that if we're starting to eat into some of that very coveted space. And more of a comment maybe so than a question that I guess for me, I'm just, yeah, not really loving the idea of having the community amenity contribution be something. We already have a grant in for a tennis court resurfacing that we're hoping to be successful on. So again, that one is just not really a win for me as far as the contribution. So I don't know, maybe there's a better option to consider for that.
So Councillor Mundell, I'm just going to let staff respond to that last comment
Sure.
because yeah, before you move on.
In the district's community amenity contribution policy, it's set at 10,000 a unit, and there's the 18 units on the site, so it's worth $180,000. So I think that's where the applicant came up with the concept, and I think it's an elegant solution. It's in terms of community amenity, the policy also speaks to things that are in proximity to the site as proposed, and this is immediately adjacent to it. The tennis courts have been closed for quite some time because of the poor state of the asphalt. So this would be something that you know, the private sector is coming up to renew, stepping up to renew the infrastructure, and that aligns with the CAC policy. So I think it's something that way we wouldn't have to wait and see if we were successful on a grant application. It would just be provided for by the developer.
Councillor Mundell, go ahead. Any
Just,
follow-ups?
yeah, and I mean, just food for thought too, that if we do get that grant, then just wondering if there is some other consideration that would be offered in lieu, because obviously we wouldn't want to be losing out per se on what we're getting for community contributions.
The CAC is worth $180,000, so if we were successful on, say, a $60,000 grant, we could work with the developer, and then we get $60,000 to put together towards a different amenity contribution, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Jones and then Councillor Lerner.
Yes, again, so many things. I want to tag on to the ones that just has been discussed. Can you clarify, you said 18 units, on the plan shows 16 units? Which is it, please?
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. It must be, it's 16.
Yep, thank you. So that's not 180, that's 160 there. And then the first unit doesn't count for a $10,000 amenity because it's already it has a single dwelling on it. So just a correction there of $30,000. I think the cash amenity would be 150,000. Would you agree?
Yeah, sounds about right, Councillor.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on then to, oh gosh, let's see. This area, just so we're all clear, this area is in the Village West SPA. So the ask here from the applicant is to move it into a new Village Commercial 2 zone. That is, as I said before, a big difference. There is no intention in the OCP for commercial to extend into this area. And with commercial, if it is approved here, I think it reasonable to expect that we will see commercial at least from here to the village core and possibly beyond in other parts of the SPA. So that's something that we need to consider.
Sorry to interrupt, Councillor Jones. We really need to, this is for
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah,
not
well, and
statements,
it
because
is the-
otherwise I have to open it to the rest of the
Sure,
council to debate. And we
Well,
don't even
I
have
know we
that.
can't debate at first reading, and where I'm going with this is that what we have here, we do not have a site-specific plan. It's not for council to say remove A, B, and C. We need a site-specific plan here. That is the way when you take one space within a large special planning area and develop it, it's normal to provide a site-specific plan for that. We don't have a site-specific
So
plan.
I heard a
so-
question within that. So,
Yeah,
can you, through to staff, clarify whether a site-specific plan is required for this particular application?
Through your worship, this is essentially what we're proposing to do is there's an OCP amendment on the table that would allow the uses, and then there's a zoning amendment that would apply specifically to this property. If you want it worded in a different way, staff can take that away and look at it. Like I said, it's only at first reading. So we can definitely modify it if there's some language in there that council's not comfortable with. You could also pass first reading and then pass a resolution asking the developer to consider certain changes before it returns to second reading.
Yeah, I just
You can
know-
also make amendments at
Just
second
one at a
reading.
time,
Sorry.
please. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Jones and then
Yeah.
Councillor Lerner.
I would just like you to consider, please, narrowing that plan down to site-specific, not one that applies to the rest of the SPA area, if that is possible. The special planning area also asked for park space, 20%. We are not getting any park space here. I would, that's another large concern. And this is why I'm thinking that it might be good to do further negotiation with the developer before going to input. I'm just trying to save some time and effort here.
Is there a question with that, Councillor Jones?
Yeah,
Because-
if that could
okay,
be
so is there,
addressed.
through to staff, is there a reason why there further parkland has not been negotiated with this particular application?
Your worship, there's no subdivision application associated with this development proposal right now. I understand the applicant is considering a strata application. It's directly across the street from Huddlestone Park and immediately adjacent to the tennis courts, which they're proposing to upgrade.
So I think I clarified. Any follow-ups, Councillor Jones?
Yeah, another question if I can, or I
Yeah,
can
we
let
gotta,
others speak
we
first.
just, we
that's
just have a
fine, too.
lot of agenda left to go through, council, and I know we're probably not gonna extend past 9:30, so this is meant, and again, we can always write in questions as well. This isn't to stifle the questions, it's just we have an agenda that we have to get through. Councillor Lerner, if you have a question?
Yes, my question is specifically to the procedure around first reading. If first reading is put on the floor, is it permissible to refer it back to staff to amend the wording to make it clear that it applies to council, that it applies specifically to this property? Because I also interpret the wording to be for the entire SPA. So is that procedurally okay?
Yes, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Savage?
Thank you. So, as Chair to staff, neither the new zoning or the OCP amendment state the maximum units allowed, the number of units per acre allowed. It's just the zoning only states the floor area ratio of 2:1, parcel coverage 100%, some small setbacks, and height of 2 stories. So this zoning allows somewhat an unknown number of units depending on their size, generally in the range of 16 units. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, the concept plan is included in your agenda. That's what the applicant provided with their application. If you were looking to amend the suggested VC2 zone, following Councillor Lerner's point about the referral back to staff, is if you're going to pass a referral motion of first reading, if you could specify items like the lot coverage or like the number of maximum number of units and all these other kinds of things in your referral motion, we'll be sure to include those when first reading comes back to council.
Okay, and that brings up my follow-up question. because I don't see anything in the zoning or otherwise that ties this specific site plan, is the one that will be built. So is there something in there that says this is the site plan, or is this just one example of a number of different options that could be built? If not, then it's up to council to ensure that this site plan is tied in with the zoning. So I don't see anything now. Is there something that ties this site plan in with the zoning?
Through your worship to the councillor, our zoning bylaw isn't structured to allow for the inclusion of site plans like this in that zoning bylaw. So what you would do is modify the regulations to match the site plan that's proposed. What I will remind council is that this is in a form and character development permit area, and so the project will be coming back, even if the OCP and zoning bylaws pass, it will be coming back to council for a form and character development permit.
Yes, but sort of the question I'm asking is, if there's no maximum units in the zoning or the OCP amendment, then we're dependent on the floor area ratio, height, and parcel coverage and so on. Is that correct?
Yes, councillor. So the regulations that would be in the zone would be the controlling factor.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's nothing that ties this site plan we're looking at guaranteeing that'll be the site plan. All we're voting on is the zoning and the OCP amendment, which was just those three minor things I brought up.
Yes, councillor. All that's before you today is the OCP and zoning. We're not at the detailed site planning stage. That's at the development permit stage.
Okay, and the next question is, with this cash amenity, our amenity policy actually states that you only pay $10,000 is what we're after. That's the goal. It's just $10,000 per additional unit from what the current zoning allows. Well, the current zoning allows 4 units because we had to amend our zoning bylaw for provincial regulation. So would this 10,000 only apply to the total number of units minus 4 units? So if it's 16, what's being proposed, there's already zoned for 4 units, so therefore the additional units would be 12. They would only be due to pay about $120,000. Is that not the?
Councillor, I think you may be confusing the difference between existing and permitted units. I believe the CAC policy speaks to the existing units, but we can confirm that.
Yeah, I'll just read you exactly what it says in the amenity policy. It says, for proposed development in residential designated areas, the target financial community amenity contribution is $10,000 per additional parcel or primary dwelling unit that can be achieved as a result of the zoning bylaw amendment. So it's all additional. That's fine if we need time to look at that.
Yeah, hold on, Councillor Savage, he can respond now.
Sorry,
go ahead,
if you
Director
go to
Robinson.
page 233 of your agenda, sir, you have a copy of the current future special area plan zone, which only allows one house and one of either a carriage house or a secondary suite. And so the current zoning allowance is only one principal dwelling. Because this is the future area special plan zone, it's not a residential zone that we're required to update to the 4 units. It's a holding zone.
Yeah, okay, that's a discussion we can have another time. I'm just thinking that the Bill 44 applies to all properties with sewer and water residential, so.
Go ahead,
Anyway.
Director Robinson.
It doesn't apply to the future special area plan zone because it's a holding zone. And it has a very large lot size because the intent is that it's in a special area plan area. So this future special area plan zone only allows one primary dwelling unit.
Yep. Okay. So anyway, the last a couple of questions, please, is with the this is a question for the consultant, if I may, please, and that is we have dark skies, as we mentioned earlier, policy in Lantzville, and what's the proposed lighting? Because you're right adjacent to houses, especially on the parking side there, it's just a few feet to the house. What's the plan for the parking. I know it's difficult when you have shared parking, but what's the planned lighting? Will be it all-night lighting, and how bright and so on? Same with the outdoor lighting on the commercial. So.
Yeah, I have to press, yeah.
We didn't look into like the detail of the lighting proposed at this time of the project or the stage of the project, but we dealt with the dark sky lighting specification like before in a different location and properties and developments, and we are making sure like it complies with whatever regulation is required to have the privacy not breached, and we have like maintained the level of lux or lighting level and within the regulation to meet the requirement.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks very much. And last question, if I may, to staff, please, through chair to staff. And that is with the, since it hasn't been brought up already and we're running out of time, let's just quickly with the, it looks like the plan is to storm sewer pipe that entire frontage there. And that's the last remaining. There's just a few ditches left there to clean out and absorb the drainage water from the village. And in the Lukowicz report, which I haven't had time to read yet, apparently there's some talk of piping the drainage water from the back towards the front. So my question is, what sort of check or guarantees are there that this will be on-site water, handling of water, rather than increasing the off-site production of water, which goes straight down a few ditches into the pipe down to Huddlestone Beach? So what's the guarantee of the flow if it's all underground piped system? Well, I have no way of checking it.
Through your worship to the councillor, our existing servicing bylaw has provisions which require retention of all post-development flows on site. So they would have some sort of on-site detention, perhaps similar to other developments we've seen where they have a detention facility located below the parking lot, or they have rain gardens or swales around the property that can address the stormwater drainage. So any kind of flow from the site would be limited to what the pre-development flow is just for the existing house. So the on-site stormwater management is a requirement in the servicing bylaw, and that would be looked at and reviewed at the development permit and building permit stage.
All right, well, that's fine. I do have other questions, but time is pressing on. So when we get to this for first reading, I'll be proposing to postpone it till the next meeting. There's just far, far too many issues here to look into before I would go to first reading and to the public. And we already heard from one neighbor tonight that he has great concerns with the impact on his property. So thank you.
All right, I was going to get the first reading on the floor. Do we have more questions? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, because we can't discuss after first reading, so I'd like to ask the questions now. Thank you, Director Robinson, for making it clear that additional water runoff needs to be managed on site. I have read the Lukowicz report and have questions about this. How can you manage the water on site when, as the Lukowicz report says, it is going to go through rock pits and into pipes and down Huddlestone? That is a change in the flow direction, as well as not managing it on site. It's an actual change in the direction of the movement of water. The north side of the site is 2.4 meters higher than the southwest corner, which is where the wet area normally is. So that might be an ideal space to have a water retention plan. So I'm hoping that can be considered, because if we change the direction of the flow and move it all down into pipes and down to the ocean, we have several problems. One is that we're now drying out the land. We are not allowing the water to be retained on the land, and we're putting contaminants down to the ocean. And we also don't provide for much in the way of infiltration into the soil, which is a effective way of removing contamination. In the OCP, and this is a part of the application that I have concerns about, so I hope you can answer the questions as to whether or not we are complying with Goal 5 of the OCP, which is to provide clear and adequate planning guidelines for new development addressing environmental protection, protecting open space, and providing a high-quality development that meets the expectations of landowners and then it ends. So if those questions can be further addressed, it'd be great. I also am wondering
Okay,
if.
Councillor Jones, I'm going to interrupt there because you've asked questions and staff needs to be able to respond.
Oh, sure.
Because I'd like to
sure.
hear the responses.
Through your worship to the councillor, the Lukowicz report is actually the geotechnical report. If you go to page 301 in your agenda, the J.E. Anderson
Yeah.
Associates has the servicing plan.
Apologies, I meant the Anderson report there.
Yeah, and so they speak to the storm sewer at the bottom of page 301. Good engineering practices to limit post-development flows to pre-development rates by using stormwater management features. And then it goes into the details about the property and how the detailed design stage will set the actual stormwater management system. Their expectation is rock pits with control flows, but further engineering work is required. So again, we're at the zoning stage. We're not at development or building permit stage. So we typically do not have a detailed stormwater management plan prepared at this stage.
Thank you. And that is the report I read, and I do understand from that report that the direction of the flow will be changed and go north down Huddlestone, that while we are at that stage, as you say, that these are not easy things to change down the road, and we, as a council, don't have input down the road anyway. So I am raising it now as a concern and a question that I hope can be satisfactorily answered so that the water is managed on site. The other question I have is about the southwest corner, which is the only part, as far as the Lukowicz report could determine, that is within the coal mining area. And the Lukowicz report goes through the coal mining areas and the decommissioning, so to speak, of the mines, and notes that the way they are decommissioned is with the expectation that they will simply collapse, caving collapse. And in the case of this southwest corner, there is no evidence that caving collapse has occurred. And the Lukowicz report goes on to say that they think there is a moderate risk of caving collapse. And this area is identified as green space and a play area. So I'm wondering if that, from a risk management point of view, has been addressed.
Through to staff.
Your worship, the Lukowicz report concludes on page 266 with all of their conclusions. They also have a summary of the history of the coal mines and the geology and everything else. I will draw your attention to the report itself, which starts on page 253 is the executive summary. Which the findings confirm the land is considered safe for the use intended, provided the recommendations in the report are followed. I'm not a geotechnical engineer. I don't believe any members of council are geotechnical engineers, so I will defer to the report.
Thank you. I think that may be not the section I'm referring to. I've read the Lukowicz report also, so I have a number of quotes here. It is noted at the end of their analysis that there is a moderate risk of a future caving collapse. So I'll leave it with you to hunt that down in the appropriate section and pursue that one. Concerned about the risk management for that space. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to get the motion on the floor that the District of Lantzville Official Community Plan Bylaw number 150-2019, Amendment 7261 Lantzville Road Bylaw number 420-2025 be given first reading. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Lerner. Normally, first reading is not a debated item with this council. It's always been that practice.
Point of order?
Yeah, what's your point of order?
As the seconder, am I allowed to introduce a referral motion to staff on first reading? It was said it was
Well,
procedurally
that
allowed.
becomes debatable. Sure, we can refer. And reason 4 can be debated. Sure.
Okay, then I'll make the motion that the motion on the floor be referred back to staff to ensure all amendments are specific only to 7261 Lantzville Road, as well as to clarify parkland and cash amenity contribution details, total unit limitations of the zoning, and other considerations discussed at the November 26, 2025 meeting of council.
Okay, Director
Your
Wells?
worship, I'm going to jump in and say other things as discussed doesn't fly. We need to know exactly what you want.
Okay, I think that could be very long, so I think because this is only the zoning, I will leave it at parkland, cash amenity details, and total unit limits, as well as site-specific to 7261 Lantzville Road, because that's what's applicable to the zoning.
Okay, so referral motion is being made. Is there a seconder to the referral? Second by Councillor Mundell. And then discussion. So anything further, Councillor Lerner?
Yeah, it's, for me specifically, I have to know that this is specific only to this property before I think it's worth sending to the first reading in the public. And the way I read it, it is not, it is too broad in its wording for me personally, and I'd like that clarification from staff. Staff did indicate that that could be referred back to them for that. There was also some questions around both the parkland cash amenity contributions and how that could work out depending on different things, which is sort of in the zoning area, as well as there was talk about limiting the total number of units on the site. So those are questions I think are worth answering before first reading. As far as the other thing we can debate beside reason is the timing, and I'm not suggesting a specific date or postponement. This is to refer back to staff so they can get those answers. Thank you.
Councillor Mundell is the seconder, and then I've got myself, and then whoever else.
Yeah, I'm also trying to think about how to handle this, and a referral motion may be the way to go for this. But I guess with the current layout design, all the I think concerns that I have around this being used in a residential, what I would consider to be a residential zone, needs further review and consideration. So I think maybe a referral will help to get some more information.
Okay, so for myself, I'll ask just as a point of information. I thought I heard correctly that first reading could be passed tonight and then it could be amended later. Is that through to Director Robinson? Is that correct?
Sorry, in response to your question, Your Worship, I believe there would be two ways that you could, to do this at this time, which is the referral motion that Councillor Lerner has put forward. You could also pass first reading and then provide an additional motion that gives direction on amendments that you'd like to make at second reading so that staff can be prepared to have those text amendments handy for you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, so I guess I do have another question. Even if this is referred, can we still not move ahead with public information sessions?
My reading is that yes, you could.
Okay. So I will support the, for what has been discussed so far about the need for a referral motion. However, I would also like to continue forward with the process and going to the information sessions because, as we've heard very clearly tonight, this is the vision of the applicant. That I don't anticipate anything is going to change between now and the public hearing on the vision of the applicant. I think based on the feedback that's garnered through holding these information sessions may lead to some changes. But in the meantime, we've heard again clearly this is the vision. So I'll support the amendment, but I hope when we get to the third motion, they'll be supporting, council will support hosting the meetings, and I would say 2 meetings. Additional speakers, Councillor Savage.
Yep, so this is basically the same as postponing it till the next meeting, except Councillor Lerner has a few things he wants clarified or changed before that. And for me, I had so much information tonight I have to look into and so much more to read about that I want to be competent when I refer it back for changes or look into changes and so on. And I've indulged in this debate before where it's to present things to the public or to put your best foot forward before you present it to the public. And I certainly would not be willing to present this to the public at this point, even if it's just based on those two items that the OCP amendment calls for. The one, all special plan areas will now allow commercial and various properties. And then the other one is Village West will allow properties to now allow commercial in purely residential zones, quite removed from the village all the way up to Peterson Road. So I want to put our best foot forward and to come up with the best plan. And there's other things that aren't a matter of opinion, and that is the amount of green space versus hardscape, and just how much we want to reflect the OCP. And the OCP is very much about having Lantzville a green community, and every development we have that's mostly hardscape with very little green in it, then I want to be able to address that because the public already gave in an enormous amount of input into our community plan. So we'd be reflecting that input by having certain things expected with the how the policies of Village West. So I want time. We just got this on late Friday, and it's very complex, all the things in it, all the precedents we're setting and so on. And it's quite broad how we're affecting now all manner of places within special plan areas. So anyway, I'll support this motion, but I will have during that time, I want all manner of clarifications on this, and also I may have other ideas to refine this application before it goes to the public. And I wouldn't want it to go to the public as is until we get all these clarifications, because if most of council's in the dark as to some of the answers to these questions, then the public will be as well, as we're just members of the public. So anyway, thank you. I'll be supporting the amendment, but going no further with this tonight. Thank you.
Additional speakers, Councillor Jones. And again, just speaking to the referral.
Speaking to the referral motion, I do support the referral motion, and I want to just say from my perspective, and I may not be speaking, I don't mean to put words in the developer's mouth or interpret things for you, but developers have an investment in a plan. And it's my experience that the further they move through our process with that plan, the more invested one gets. So I want to make it very clear at this stage that as a counselor, my opinion is that this proposal does not come close to what the official community plan is envisioning for this area. 100% parcel coverage, fencing all around it, no parkland, and we haven't got into the active transportation and what's going to happen on Lantzville Road. Is it going to be narrowed all the way like it is in phase 1 and 2, or how's that going to be handled? So there are a lot of questions here. I don't feel it's appropriate to move to public information sessions when these are large questions to be answered. It's really, a burden on the public to ask them to come out and weigh in on all this right now. I think it's far off the target. So I want to be really honest about that so that you do have time to work with our planner to think about some of the things. If there's more questions you have of what we're seeing in the special plan area that we feel isn't being provided, we should be having those discussions. But talking now and getting this refined, rather than getting more dug in to a particular plan, is, I think, important for all parties, residents and the applicant.
Additional speakers? Again, this is just the referral. Okay, we'll move to calling the question then. All those in favor and opposed, that's carried unanimously. That takes us on to the next one, so I'll get it on the floor, that the District of Lantzville zoning bylaw number 180/2020, amendment 7261, Lantzville Road bylaw 421/2025 be given first reading. Is there a seconder to that? Second by Councillor Lerner. Discussion, actually, I've moved it, so just hold on. Thank you. It sounds like this will also be referred back to staff, so it's congruent with the, I'll just wait for a second here. If there's additional people who wish to vacate, this is the time to do it. That's, okay, I think we're ready to keep going. All right, so it sounds like this one will be referred back to staff, just so it's congruent with the OCP bylaw amendment. So, Councillor Lerner, if you wish.
Sure. I don't even know if we can debate first reading, so I'll leave it up to the mayor how he wants to proceed, but my recommendation is also to refer this to staff.
Okay, so I'll just get the referral motion on the floor, so the motion on the floor be referred to staff. So it's, I can give, do you need the reason? Would you like a reason? Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Second by Councillor Savage. I got nothing really to add at this time. Go ahead and speaking just the referral.
Yes, thank you, and I'll amend the referral to insert the words at the end of the referral to clarify what guarantees there are in the zoning to ensure the number of units allowed. And
sorry, Councillor Savage, I'm gonna jump in. I don't know if that, well, to me, this sounds like more of a question, and I would probably recommend do a separate motion or submit a question regarding what guarantees. But unless you want to amend the zoning bylaw in a specific way to insert guarantees or something to that effect, but
yes, well,
posing it as a question.
It's to clarify how we can ensure that there's a set number of units and not just rely on floor area ratio and so on. And
so just, I'm gonna rule that's out of order. I think the amendment needs to be specific to making a change with the actual zoning bylaw amendment. And I can look across and I'm getting a nod. So if there's a question, I would recommend submit the question, or if you want to do a follow-up motion with the exact same thing you're suggesting. I just think procedurally it's out of order.
Well, with the first referral motion that Councillor Lerner made, he said to refer to staff to clarify the amenity contributions and to clarify that it's just specific to this property and no other areas. And I'm doing the same thing with the zoning, simply to clarify and how to ensure that we get a set number of maximum units, and also to ensure that the site plan that's shown is what will be built.
Director Wells?
Your Worship, I'm also going to look to my colleague, Director Robinson, on this, but the zoning bylaw, that the discussions that are happening now, those would also be taken care of by looking at the same items that are in the OCP. So I think you're duplicating what you're asking staff to do, And I don't know if Director Robinson has any further comments on that, but I do think we have enough instructions from the OCP
okay.
motion.
All right, that's fine. I'll just stick with seconding the referral motion. I'll ask questions in the meantime. Just email them in. Thank you.
Again, it's not to stifle questions from being submitted or additional motions being made. It's just, anyways. Is there anything further on the referral, Councillor Jones?
Yes, just to ask that the staff, more detailed staff report be, well, I'm sure it's going to come answering a lot of the questions we've had, but in our OCP, it says in special plan areas, the district, prior to approving any rezoning or subdivision application, will require a site plan. So I think it's reasonable to ask that we know we're getting that. So if that can be clarified when this comes back. Showing, and it goes on, this is page 78, section 7.2.1 of the OCP. But the last thing it says, which we haven't brought up yet, and I think needs to be addressed, it says, and trails and pedestrian connections through the site and to adjacent neighborhoods, open space and green space. The trail at the moment is marked as pedestrian only. It goes only as far as the tennis court. The vision of the OCP, what it's asking for
Councillor Jones,
is
sorry, I gotta
networks.
interrupt again. We're on a referral motion pertaining to the zoning bylaw. Like, I
Okay,
recommend you
this is a
submit your
little more the
questions.
OCP then.
This is, yeah,
Sure,
going
I'll
way
put that
off.
in.
Again, yeah, thank you. And again, this does not stop council from submitting follow-up questions through to staff following this evening's meeting. But we have to insert these questions at the proper time, so. Unless there's anything further on the referral, I will call the question. All those in favor and opposed, that's carried unanimously. And the next one is that two public information sessions be hosted with the surrounding neighborhood to collect input on the application and report back to council on the outcomes of the public information meetings be provided prior to scheduling the required public, actually be scheduled prior to second reading. That's not in there, I just changed it on the fly. And if there's a seconder, sorry?
Sorry, I haven't mentioned in relation to first reading, are you meaning after?
No, so prior to second reading. Councillor Lerner? Is seconding, yeah. So just gonna make sure that works. Go ahead, Councillor Lerner, if you wish, and then.
No, I'd just like to hear what the rest of council has to think. My thought is that the developer has proposed a very specific drawing of their vision, very specific amenity contributions, very specific trails and parking numbers. The question is whether now is the right time to send it to public information meetings or if it should happen after first reading. I'm fine either way because I very much want to hear what the public has to say. I don't know if it would necessarily change much if we did this waited until after first reading, simply because it's just now about to go into December, and I don't think, my guess is that there would not be a huge number of public information meetings in the middle of the holidays. So if it's gonna wait till January anyway, but I'm fine either way.
My clarity has returned. It's been already a long meeting. So basically with this, motion, for, like I've already mentioned earlier, the applicant has clearly stated to this council, to the public that's in attendance, that this is their vision. And so I think this vision needs to go before the public and for feedback in terms of the, whether it's site specific or it's, generally to the special planning area, the policies and so forth. That's all going to get worked out. What we have is a concept or a vision, and I was sure would like to know what the public actually thinks about it. The sooner the better. We've heard from one speaker with respect to or council, not wasting time. Well, if we want to get to not wasting time, the quickest path is by allowing this to move forward rather than hold it back. And I don't know why council would get into redesigning their vision at this stage in the game. You know, a lot of you know, when we look at the zoning bylaw and we look at the OCP bylaw or amendments, you know, it's a couple pages. And I know what's on there means a lot, but in terms of the public, you know, what is going to mean the most is what it looks like. And I have no idea what they're going to bring forward to a public information session. There could be some, you know, 3D renderings or who knows what, but it seems like the caliber of these public information sessions is improving with every application we get. So I'd be very interested in attending and seeing, you know, what is it going to look and feel like. But at this point, you know, I would like it to proceed, and ultimately, with respect to this, I don't think they're going to be scheduling during the Christmas holidays. I think this is probably going to come forward. Maybe there might be one before, like early December, but I don't think they're probably ready to do that. And then there may be one in the new year. But again, I think 2 would be a reasonable number. So I'll leave it there. Councillor Savage, I see, and Councillor
Yes,
Jones.
thank you. So I must disagree with you, Mayor Swain, when you say it's the vision of the applicant. The applicant just told us tonight, his words were, the vision came from staff, said the applicant. And I don't know what that relevance has anyway, but, and the second point is you ask why we're wanting to get involved now, because as I pointed out, 2 of those OCP amendments, one of them applies to the entire Village West. And we just went through an entire months of OCP amendments with the clear understanding we wouldn't be making any amendments beyond what was mandated by the province and housekeeping. And now we're making a sweeping change, which I'm opposed to, that all of Village West will be affected by allowing commercial on every property in Village West. And more than that, the other amendment, from the way it's written, allows every special plan area to have commercial on any property within it. So I want that cleared up before, that's why we're getting involved now, that and many other things. So I want to get a lot of these things, some of the questions couldn't be answered tonight. I want everything clarified so it's clear as a bell when it goes to the public. And another thing I want clarified is the zoning. What dictates how many units are permitted on the by the zoning bylaw, and it's not clear to me. So I think residents deserve to have a clear understanding of all these things and what's being proposed, and we're just doing our duty to make sure that things are clarified before it goes to public. So I don't want it going to the public until it has its best foot forward. There are some elements of the proposal which are worthwhile. So anyway, that's my point of view. I won't be supporting this. I want everything cleaned up and clarified before it goes to public information. Thank you.
Okay, I have Councillor Jones next.
Yes, respectfully, Mayor Swain, I disagree with what you said in its entirety, I think. It is our responsibility to give a deep look at the applications that cross our path. It's part of the process. And when we pass first reading on something, it, in my opinion, should be something that answers the big questions. Councillor Savage has raised some of the big questions that aren't answered. I've raised some big ones, some small ones. I have more that I'm going to send in. This is our job. We need to get this aligning more closely with the special plan area, the vision of the OCP. And it's my opinion as a councillor that it doesn't do that in many respects. And I hope we've conveyed tonight some of the ways it doesn't, the character, the blending into the community, the continuous connections of pathways, the stormwater management, the density limits, there's a number of them. And to go to public input now is just saying to the public, get out of your houses, come to the public input, there's this thing, it's totally not what you're gonna think it would have been, and you have to weigh in right now. we don't need to make that ask of our residents right now. We have a job to do, and I think we need to do it a bit more thoroughly, and then, yes, go to public input.
Okay, additional speakers? Yeah, I just suspect this isn't gonna pass, but that's fine. I, do take this job and my duty is very seriously, when processing these applications. We have already agreed unanimously as a council to refer both amendments back to staff, which will address a lot of the concerns that have already been brought up. This isn't a public hearing. This is a public input sessions. And I think the more information we can get ahead of time, the better. And I don't see any fault in doing that. And I stand by, my decision to move this motion. And if councilors want to disagree with it, that's fine. It is a democratic process here. But by no means am I skirting my responsibility to take this application any less serious than any other application or the OCP or anything to that effect. So I'll leave my remarks there. I support the motion. People are obviously watching this. I'm not going to bother for recorded vote. It's people know, what's happening here. So go ahead, Councillor Lerner.
Thank you. Just a procedural question through to staff. If this passes, there would be 2 information sessions for the public to attend and give their feedback. If this fails, there would be no information sessions at this time, but we could still have some in the future, or would this sort of kibosh them altogether?
Through your worship to the councillor, if the motion as is put on the floor today fails, then we would need a subsequent motion providing direction on what kind of public input sessions you wanted the applicant to host in the future. You may want to consider deferring this motion until first reading has been completed.
I see. Okay. The reason I ask is because the way the motion is worded, it says public information meeting to be provided prior to scheduling second reading. So my concern is, I support the motion in the sense that I want the public to have the information sessions, and we can host as many as we want. We could end up hosting more and more and more. We could have 20 sessions. I want as much resident input as possible. My concern is if this motion does fail, the way it's worded, it's almost like council has made a decision not to have public information prior to second reading. So we would almost need like a reconsideration or something. So, yeah.
Point of information,
Unless
Director
I'm
Wells, go
misunderstanding.
ahead.
Sorry, Your Worship, I didn't mean to distract you there. I just wanted to clarify that defeating this motion just means that you're not doing this right now. You could change your mind however you want, whenever you want afterwards, so there's no concerns there.
Okay, then that alleviates my concern, but I still support the motion because I feel like we could do information sessions now and information sessions later and keep doing more and more. So I support it, but I totally understand that if it's defeated, we can still do them in the future. So, okay, thank you.
And the only thing else I wanted to add is the funny thing about this whole process, if there's anything funny about it, is there's nothing stopping the applicant from holding their own sessions. They don't need the district for that. They can go out there and they can rent Costin Hall. They can advertise the entirety of Lantzville. It costs $400 to send a flyer to every door in Lantzville or thereabouts. So there's no reason why they can't just host them independently and then maybe invite staff to at least collect the feedback form, so it's done in a way that nobody can say that things were tampered with or what have you. So at the end of the day, that would be my advice to the applicants: just hold your own. You don't need to wait for council to make that decision for you. Get the information now, especially if there seems to be concerns about where this is headed. Again, I totally support the motion that's on the floor because I want to know this information now. Because again, if the applicant is way off base on this as to what residents are truly wanting there, in Lantzville, then let's tell them that after we get some public information. So I'll leave it there. I got Councillor Jones, Councillor Savage.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that the information here isn't nailed down for the kind of clarity that answers the questions residents are going to have. We don't have a site-specific plan being presented right now. And we need a site-specific plan. It's allows all kinds of things, hotels, breweries on the site. That is what is in the application right now. That site plan is not site-specific yet. It needs to be narrowed down. Then it would be a good time to go. Again, there's some big questions that I think need to be sorted out, and we have raised a lot of them, and then go to public input. As you say, if the developer wants to spend the money to do it now, then they certainly can. I'm just trying to save the developer some time and money, because I think some questions need to be answered first.
Councillor Savage, and then I will call the question.
Thank you. Yep, I move to postpone this motion until council brings it back.
I don't know if you can postpone a referral motion. I think we have to vote on
I
that.
think you just vote it down and be done with it, Your
Yeah.
Worship.
So that's basically it. So I'm going to move then to call into question. All those in favor and opposed, noting that Councillor Mundell, Councillor Jones, Councillor Savage, Councillor Lerner are opposed, it fails. Okay, leave it there. All right, so that takes us on to where we're at for time. Oh, I'm just trying to remember. Just bear with me for 2 secs. I'm trying to remember if we had. Okay, through the council, just being mindful of time here, it's 8:26. I just had to refresh my memory if there were any fairly time-sensitive issues or things that we need to address in our in-camera agenda, and I believe there are a couple, and we'll need time for this evening. So I'm probably going to, at a certain point, again, because I'm not anticipating we will be getting through this agenda by any stretch. So I'll be recommending that we go on camera at 9 o'clock. Okay, just want to give council the heads up. It's not to cut off the agenda or discussion. It's just so we can get to the time-sensitive matters in our in-camera portion of our meeting. All right, so moving on. We are at, where are we at? The development cost charge bylaw. So Director Robinson, I will hand it over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will try to go very quickly. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. So as background, as part of the very ambitious legislative session that the province passed in the fall of 2023, there was Bill 46, the Development Financing Amendment Act, and this act included the ability for us to collect new fire protection development cost charges. The RDN is reviewing a new solid waste development cost charge. I expect council will see some more information about that in the new year. It updated the DCC best practice guide, and council gave direction to staff, and the previous history of the motions are all in your report there, to update the 2018 development cost charge bylaw. Coors was engaged to prepare a new background report, and it's included as attachment 1 to your council report. It incorporates fire protection facilities as a new DCC category, reviews current applicable projects for all functions over the next 20 years, develops current estimated costs for projects, and calculates the updated charges for each DCC land use category. Community engagement events are required at multiple stages in the development of a development cost charge bylaw. Staff will schedule public stakeholder engagement meetings to collect feedback from the public in line with provincial guidance, and feedback will be reported back to council prior to first reading of the bylaw. So in the DCC Best Practices Guide, there's a very detailed process in which local governments must follow in order to get a new DCC bylaw approved, and it's there on your slide. Basically, following the public engagement events, we'll bring the bylaw for first reading. And then after third reading, where you have to submit the bylaw to the Ministry of Housing and Municipal Affairs for Inspector of Municipalities approval. If he approves it, he or she approves it, the bylaw comes back to Lantzville for fourth reading and adoption, and then for implementation. The recommendation tonight is that you be received for information. If you have any comments, concerns, questions, or clarifications needed, I'm happy to answer those. And then that we're basically starting that public engagement process at the very beginning of the approval process chart that's included in the best practices guide. That's my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Wow, that was really fast. All right, through to council, any specific questions on the presentation before we get into moving some of these items? No questions? All right, so thank you for the presentation. Oh, you have a question? Go
No,
ahead.
I was just going to make the motions.
Yeah, you can do the first one.
That the draft copy of District of Lantzville Development Cost Charge Bylaw Number 422, 2025 be received for information.
Yeah, I'll second that. And then for discussion, is there any discussion or questions? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll move then to call in question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. And then you prepared to do the second one?
That council authorize staff to post a copy of the District of Lantzville Development Cost Charge Bylaw Number 422, 2025 on the District of Lantzville website for public review, and further that 2 public stakeholders engagement meetings be scheduled prior to first reading.
Okay, I'll second that. And then for discussion, go ahead, Councillor Savage, if you wish. Okay, for myself, nothing. Go ahead, Councillor Jones.
Just to request that with respect to residents, the public engagement sessions are not scheduled until after the Christmas holidays, in particular after the first week in January, as opposed to right after New Year's. Just get the kids back in school and the holidays behind us.
Yeah, it looks like a big thumbs up from staff. That's not going to happen anyways, so yeah. Any debate on the item? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll move then to call in question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. All right, so that takes us on to unfinished business. There's a few items there, so Councillor Savage, this is in relation to the
Yes,
Design
thank
Select
you.
Committee. Go ahead.
Thank you. That the following items be referred to the Design Committee in order to recommend a design to council and for the committee's design consultant to implement in consultation with Public Works each of these designs which are approved by council. 1, complete the Jacks Road Beach Road, and per the council motion of Feb 21st, 2024, by designing some infill greenery on the east side of the path. 2, make proposed amendments to the Coors design dated April 2020 for the Lavender Beach Road end. 3, design improvements for the Harper Road Beach Road end. 4, design the completion of the narrow strip of public land on the north side of the north walkway of Phase 2 Village Improvement bordering the Halliwell property. And further that the Design Committee consultant in consultation with Public Works implement the Legion Plaza design approved by council on November 6, 2024 and November 20th, 2024. And further that the Design Committee consultant be funded by the council one-time projects reserve, and the implementation of the Legion Plaza be funded by the funds already allocated for the Legion Plaza.
And second by Councillor Lerner, and then for discussion, go ahead, Councillor Savage.
No, I sent out a written report explaining it all. It's just, I think it's important to get going. We're down to about 7 months now before our terms ended, realistically, and I just want to get these things done before the term expires. We've been waiting quite a while on all of them, so that's all. So just to start moving ahead with it, thank you.
Councillor Lerner, is the seconder?
Yeah, I support the motion. I mean, these are all things we already voted to do. It's basically, we were waiting for a design committee to be formed in order to do things like the Lavender Road, and now it's we have that design committee, so I support it. The only thing I would indicate is maybe that when the design committee meets, it would be my request that there be some consideration of the fact that how do I say, priority be recommended for some of these projects. I doubt we can complete all of them. We might be able to get them on the schedule over the next 3 years, but I think it's going to take time to get them all done. So it might be worth asking the committee simply to list what they recommend for priorities. So anyway, I support the motion on the floor, and noting the time, I'm not going to delve too deeper into it. Thank you.
Okay, through to Councillor Lerner, if you want that direction to be given to the committee, this would be the appropriate time to amend the motion on the floor to give that direction, because I agree there needs to be some priority established here of these projects, because I think they will all be done, may not be entirely possible, as well as within the list, there may be, and I'll just pull out the one to me that just doesn't seem very high priority at all, and that's the narrow strip of public land on the north side of the north walkway of Phase 2 of the village improvement. So that to me, it is just one of those very low priority items, and also from an expense standpoint as well, but that's something that can be debated at a later time. So if you're prepared to make an amendment motion, this would be the time to, and again, giving the direction to the committee, because that's how it's supposed to work. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Lerner.
Sure, I'll just make the amendment to add and further that the design committee give their recommended priority list for these items.
Okay, and yeah, I'll second that, and then just through through to the mover of the motion and to the rest of the council, just to add on to the end of the amendment for council's consideration. If there's any objections, we just do that by unanimous consent, but it would just finish off with for council's consideration, the priority list. Yeah, Councilor Jones?
Just a point of information, this is a committee. The committee only gives recommendations to council, so isn't that redundant?
Could be viewed as being redundant. I see your point. I think it's just can make some direction a little bit more specific. But again,
It's fine either way, your worship.
yeah, okay. Well, I'm fine to just drop it and not worry about doing unanimous consent to change it, but I am seconding the amendment, so. Anything further on the amendment, Councilor Lerner? For myself, nothing. Through the rest of the council? Okay, hearing nothing, I'll call the question on the amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. And then main motion is amended. Anything further? Saw your hand, Councilor Savage. Nothing? Okay, I will move then to call in the question. All those in favor and opposed? Oh, sorry.
I just had a question to
Yeah,
your
go ahead,
staff on
yeah.
that one. Just out of curiosity, and I know we've talked about this before, but how much are we putting towards this consultant? Does anybody remember?
Yeah, your worship, I think we have to look into that. I don't think we had any numbers identified because we don't even have a consultant selected yet.
Okay. But we don't know how much we allocated.
Not yet, not yet.
Okay. Thanks.
I think in Councilor Savage's report, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Councilor Savage, that it was, I think some of the funding was just gonna come out of the one-time special projects reserve. I think that's what it's called.
Yes, the one-time projects reserve is the funding, and then the Legion Plaza has all sorts of funds already set aside, left over for implementing it. So it won't add up to much. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Mundell?
Just, again, because we're coming into budget season, I would like to know sort of the range that we're going to spend on this consultant, because if it goes beyond a certain range, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. So just putting that out there.
Okay, so question through the staff, and then maybe Director Wells, if you want to comment, then I did have a question. Go ahead.
So I would suggest that if council wants to know before this goes ahead, how much that consultant is going to cost, that last portion of the motion needs to be amended then. Because right now it just says that the design committee consultant be funded by the council one-time projects reserve. So we don't have any other information to work with. So if you want it to come back so you know how much it's going to be, then that piece should be amended to reflect that.
We can do that. And then did you have any follow-ups, Councilor Mundell, then myself, and then Councilor Jones? Okay, so the question I had was, and through to staff, with respect to this particular item, in terms of the consultant or design consultant, are we planning on, like, is this like landscape architect, like what professionals would we be hiring to do this design work? Yeah, go ahead, Director Robinson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe the terms of the committee called for something like an architect or a landscape architect.
Okay. All right, thank you, Councilor Jones. And then did you have your hand up, Councilor Savage?
Yeah,
Nope.
my recollection was that this isn't, you know, like hiring somebody for 3 days a week or anything like that, that it's to attend the meetings and provide input, do a little communications with Public Works, so I'm not anticipating any large expense here.
Okay, good. All right, we'll move on with, so call in question on the motion as amended. So all those in favor, opposed, that's carried unanimously. All right, so that takes us on to the next item. And we have the tree bylaw, water course protection, DPA, and drainage stormwater management bylaws. Councillor Jones?
Yes, I don't think we even need to move this. It's in this part of the agenda by error, and Director Wells has already made the correction.
Through to
Your
Director
worship,
Wells.
there were specific properties that Councillor Jones wished to discuss here, so we're going to move the topic into closed.
Oh, okay. So more like bylaw enforcement files, is that
Yes,
what we're talking about
that's
here?
correct.
Okay. All right, that takes us on to the next item. So this is under new business. So we have the 7704, 7780, and 7840 Superior Road online meeting. Councillor Lerner, you have a motion?
Thank you. That council directs staff to work with the relevant property owners to hold an online/webinar information session for the proposed rezoning of 7704, 7780, and 7840 Superior Road prior to a public hearing, and to provide at least 2 weeks public notice of this online information session.
Okay, do we have a seconder to that? Second by Councillor Savage, and then for discussion, go ahead, Councillor Lerner.
Yes, some of the feedback I've received, certainly through phone calls, but also I think council has all received some of the emails noting that there were 3 public information sessions, which is fantastic, but they all occurred on the same week, and a lot of people indicated to me that they had limited ability to attend during that week, especially for people working. And so this is simply to hold at least one online session. And our original motion did mention online as an option. So all this is to have one. And it's, we heard from the applicant or property owner tonight that there is not an intention to go to second reading immediately. I think staff mentioned January, so I think there's more than enough time before public hearing to hold an information session. I realize if second reading were to fail, that this would kind of be a moot motion anyway. But in the interest that second reading were to pass, I think it's important that we have this. In my opinion, the more information residents can have and the more opportunities to then fill out the feedback, the better.
Okay, Councillor Savage is seconder.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, this is very simple. When we were at first reading, we read a statement with respect to consultation, and it's extremely important that with consultation we cross all our T's and dot our I's, and it's more consultation than just this online meeting. So while we're in the process of this consultation to make sure the process is clean, we're simply adding this meeting in the meantime while we're waiting for second reading. It's not really delaying anything. And so I would support this, that we're just simply getting more information and input from residents, and vice versa, we're getting more information put out to more people from the applicant. So I'll support it. Thank you.
Okay, additional speakers. Okay, I don't know, through to staff, has this motion been discussed with the property owners?
Yes, Your Worship, it has. They've expressed concerns about the online format. They would prefer an in-person meeting if an additional meeting is required. The applicant indicated to me that he does not wish to hold an online session, and that being able to talk to people face-to-face is his preference, and I think you heard that in some of his comments tonight.
Yeah, and you know, it's not that I don't support this process and doing some kind of what does it say here? Sure, I get it correct. Online information session. That could mean a whole lot of things, and I don't know if it's meant to be like a Zoom webinar presentation where there could be interaction, but it's also scheduled at a specific time because they're not going to just keep running multiple presentations. And I'm also trying to think in terms of or compare it into what was actually done. And what was done was, you know, it was essentially as an open house format. The developers were present to ask questions, and ultimately people just walked around the room looking at poster boards of the proposed application. So if the intent is to do, like, I just don't know if, you know, it's an information session. They could literally do a presentation and just record it and just have it on the district's website and just go through each poster board and describe each poster board and so on. But and if the intent is to have a to and fro, like in a Zoom webinar platform, maybe we need to kind of flush that out a bit more and give that specific direction. Because the way I see it is like even this evening's meeting could be cut and paste, or like you know, that segment where Mr. Mellon presented could be basically cut from the council meeting video and posted as a standalone information session on its own. It just won't have the to and fro, or it could be the entire section with council conversing back and forth with the property owner applicant. So I think just a few unknowns here, but again, I don't know if it warrants a little bit more discussion or direction. If because now we're hearing from staff that the property owner applicant may not be comfortable with that format. So, and maybe just as a follow up through the staff, is it understood that it would be a Zoom platform, or
Yeah, Your Worship, he was very specific. He didn't want to do like a Zoom webinar meeting. He's had some negative experiences with the Zoom format, and just finds it easier to correspond with people in person. And from my experience working in other jurisdictions during the pandemic, when everything was on Zoom, it really isn't an ideal format. And you know, people can often say or do things online that they would never do in person. And it's just a lot nicer and more civilized in person, in my opinion.
okay, fair enough. Through, I think, Councillor Lerner, well, actually, first time speaker, Councillor Mandel, and then back to Councillor Lerner.
Yeah,
Did you have your hand up, Councillor Savage? No? Okay.
Sorry, so my feedback would be, I think there are benefits to online options in that many people cannot attend in-person sessions for whatever reason, but they still want to hear about the application. Obviously, as Mayor Swain pointed out, this is a venue. They can go to our website and watch and get a good sense, but perhaps a presentation might look a little bit different than a bit of a Q&A is what seemed to happen tonight, more than going through specific pieces of the application with the design in front of them. I think it's a good idea, and I'd be willing to support it. The applicant could choose to turn off commenting or not respond to questions via the Zoom setup. You don't have to. You can mute everyone and not allow comments. So or through, it doesn't have to be Zoom either. It could be a different application that they just have it so that it's a presentation. And maybe, and I don't know if this was in your sort of vision for this, but maybe it's a pre-recorded presentation and then they just post it online. Then you're not subject to the sort of back and forth with maybe somewhat anonymous participants. So maybe that's something that they would be willing to do, and that then could be easily circulated and accessible to people who aren't able to get to in-person meetings. So I guess I think I don't want to put that pressure on the applicant to say that you have to do this per se, but I see the benefit for community members that can't make it to in-person sessions.
Councillor Lerner?
Thank you. Just I appreciate the discussion and feedback. The impetus for this is just that the sense that I was getting from feedback in emails and phone calls was simply that residents, there are a number of residents who simply could not attend the in-person sessions, either because it was during the day and they were working, it was in the evening and they had children they had to take to special activities. So that's why I'm mentioning online, and I purposely did not put it in here that it had to be a Q&A or Zoom or live or anything like that, because I wanted to leave it up to the applicant and the property owner. Did they want to do a pre-recorded? Did they want to do something with a Q&A or not? And the idea is basically just to get, it could be, as Councilor Mandel mentioned, a video that has been pre-recorded that just goes through all the slides of the things, and then people can watch it whenever they want. And I didn't put a date for that reason as well. It's basically 2 weeks notice that this is when it's going to go live, and people can do that. It would be up to the applicant. I purposely left it open-ended. When it comes to the feedback in general, I think it's just helpful for the residents of Lantzville to have as much information as possible. I know there was discussion in our public input period of, sort of, to paraphrase, like the more talking, the more misinformation, the worse it is. I think residents should be able to say what they want and give their feedback and hear what they have to say. So the purpose of this is to make sure also, with, as Councillor Savage mentioned, that we check all the boxes as far as consultation goes with our community and partners. And I think it's important that we do this. So thank you.
Yeah, it's going to speak to, go ahead, Councillor Jones, and then I'll speak next.
Well, I think we already had a presentation today, so, and we also had a number of questions that we asked the applicant. So for me, it would be beneficial for people who weren't able to attend this meeting and might not be really comfortable with looking at the videos to have access, easier access to that through something like this. I think they should have the time for their own questions within it, as opposed to just a pitch from the applicant. And I don't know the best way to do it, but I can support the motion, and those details can be worked out. I just think that community ability to engage is very important.
Okay, so is this going to speak to it next?
Sorry, I move we call the question, please.
Well, I'm going to ask that we vote on whether or not we call the question, because I have more to speak to on this. So, well, it seems like we want to rush this, and well, I know I'm very conscious of the time, and there's other parts of the meeting that could have gone faster. So in terms of the comments that we made, I would agree with Councillor Mundell. I think a pre-recorded session would be quite sufficient and would be most consistent with the actual format of the actual public information sessions. I think a pre-recorded session where the individual was to, or the property owners were to actually speak to each individual poster board and just go through, I think there was maybe 10 or 12 of them or whatever it was, and just speak to them. I think that would be very sufficient. The problem with just doing a webinar is we're still going to run into the same situation. Not everybody's going to attend. And then there's the added layer of difficulty that not everybody has a stable internet connection to fully participate or engage. This way, you know, I don't think it'll be quite as limited if they're playing back a pre-recorded video on their device or through their TV or whatever it might be. I think with the last part of the motion, and I'm being quick here, is that to provide at least 2 weeks public notification. I think that could be simply replaced with provide public notification via mail out. Again, $400 or so is all it takes to send a one-page mail out to the district, or maybe it's gone up a bit, maybe it's $500-600, but it's not that expensive, and we can ensure that the entire community gets notification of this pre-recorded, you know, information session. Director Wells?
Your Worship, we have the community update heading out just around the corner for December, so we can certainly market this in the community update and take care of it that way.
And again, this all hinges on whether or not the applicant / property owner is going to go, they're actually going to comply with what is, the motion is. So anyways, I'll leave it there. I don't know if there's any additional comments. I'm going to make an amendment here. Okay, so I'm going to make an amendment to strike the words in the motion to hold an online webinar information, or sorry, online / webinar, and insert to produce a pre-recorded, and that's it there. And then on the second part of the amendment is to strike at least 2 weeks public notice and insert public notice via, what do we call it, the Lantzville newsletter?
Community
Or
update.
community update, yes. And those are the two amendments. There's a seconder. Okay, due to lack of seconder, it fails, so we're back to the main motion. I will move then to calling the question then. All those in favor and opposed, no, Mayor Swain's opposed, it carries. Oh, sorry, that's on the amendment. Now we're back to the main motion. Yeah.
Sorry, I did second the amendment.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm fine. It doesn't look like it would have passed anyways.
Well, we can always test it. If there is a seconder to the amendment, I will call the question on the amendment then. All those in favor and opposed, okay, the amendment carries. Noting that Councillor Jones and Councillor Savage are opposed. And then we're back to the main motion as amended. And if staff can read back the motion for council's benefit as amended.
That council directs staff to work with the relevant property owners to hold to produce a pre-recorded information session for the proposed rezoning of 7704, 7780, 7840 Superior Road prior to a public hearing, and to provide public notice via the Lantzville community update of this online information session.
So that's what we're voting on. I will move then to calling the question. All those in favor and opposed? Okay, that's carried unanimously. All right, that takes us on to 11B. So we have got 4 minutes here. I think we got enough. Council meeting schedule. I'll just move the motion that the 2026 council meeting schedule be approved as attached to the November 26, 2025 staff report, and further that staff be authorized to publish notice of availability of the schedule. Is there a second? Second by Councillor Savage. Any debate on this? Through to myself, nothing. Councillor Savage, rest of the council. Yeah, Councillor Jones, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I almost missed a boat on that one. Yeah, I did take a look at that schedule, and the terms of reference for the Parks and Trails Committee are to have a meeting every month, but there's only been a meeting scheduled for every other month for Parks and Trails, so I would like that corrected to monthly meetings for Parks and Trails per the terms of reference. Thank you.
Do we need an amendment through to staff on that, or is that noted?
I've got a note of it, but if you want to add it to the motion, that's fine too, either way.
Okay, I think staff will just do it, so,
That's fine.
okay. All right, and I'll move then to call in the question. All those in favor and opposed, that's carried unanimously. That takes us on to volleyball nets. Councillor Lerner, if you want to get the motion on the floor right away.
Sure, the council directs staff to work with the relevant property. Oh, that looks like a typo. Sorry. I don't know what that part is. So therefore be it resolved, the council directs staff to put a placeholder in the 2026 to 2030 financial plan for the installation of volleyball nets if council should at a future meeting resolve to apply for, I guess it should say, the Volleyball BC grant. And be it further resolved that council refers the idea of public volleyball nets to the Parks and Trails Committee to make recommendations of locations during a 2026 Parks and Trails Committee meeting so the council can consider these locations and whether this is a priority during its 2026 financial plan deliberations.
Okay, so we have a seconded by Councillor Savage and then Councillor Lerner. Is there anything further to add?
Yes, we do have, of course, the applicant that we saw tonight that we referred back first reading to build a volleyball net, but we don't know if that application will proceed or not. That's still to be seen. This grant from Volleyball BC is up to $35,000. It's simply to put a placeholder and we send it to Parks and Trails for them to weigh in. We have a fantastic Parks and Trails Committee. made up of dedicated members, and I'd like to get their feedback on locations and whether or not this should be a priority, which we can then consider.
Okay, anything further, Councillor Savage?
Yes, I have an amendment, please, and that's to strike that council direct staff to put a placeholder in the 2026-2030 financial plan for the installation of volleyball nets if council should at a future meeting resolve to apply for this grant.
Yeah, what does that leave? Okay, is there a second? Or second by Councillor Jones? And sorry, I kind of, because the motion that Councillor Lerner read out was a little bit different than obviously the one that's in their agenda. So, so we're just leaving the last bit, where it just refers to the idea, referring the idea of volleyball nets.
Yes.
Is that all? That's the intent?
Yeah.
And everything that precedes that is
Yep.
struck. Okay.
Yep.
All right, go ahead,
Yep.
Councillor
So,
Savage.
so the reason is just simply to refer this first to the Parks and Trail Committee. We've referred other things there just to get a sense of what people may or may not want. I prefer to hear from the public first before we go ahead with putting stuff in parks. One of the reasons being that there's a lot of houses sometimes around these parks. So I'd be interested to know what they said. And with all due to respect to Councillor Lerner, I just want to make sure that first. And the second is I do not want to add anything more to staff's plate. We already passed motions in October and September for two grants, federal grants that were from Ottawa. So I don't want to do anything more until those and other matters. As I say, we're down to about 7 months to get everything done. Usually in election years, things end at the end of July, and that's about it. So I don't want to add anything more or complicate the budget, especially with grants. And I think there may be other grants, like the tennis courts, that are still outstanding. So before I'd want to add any more grants, I'd like to get a flavor of what's involved, you know, how many more we've got to go. We've made a lot of motions for grants already, so I want to get those, and if that's fine with you, Councillor Lerner, too. Yep. I do appreciate your idea, though, and that won't prevent us, once we get the parks thing sorted out and sort through our other grants, that won't prevent us from applying at any time. And we have to remember that with the budget, we can add it to the budget in March if we so choose to go ahead with it. We're not precluding it at all. We're just doing it in more of a sequence and making sure the other grants we've already approved get done before we add any more. Thank you.
Okay, additional speakers. I did have a quick question through to the mover of the motion. Is there a closing date on this grant program?
Through your worship, I couldn't find a specific closing date, so I don't think it, and this motion wasn't to apply anyway, it was just a placeholder, so.
Yeah, I recognize, yeah, it's halfway through resolve to apply for this grant. Okay, anything further from council on the amendment? Hearing nothing, I'll move to call in the question. All those in favor, opposed, that's carried unanimously. Back to the main motion as amended. Anything further? Okay, hearing or seeing nothing, I will move to call in the question. All those in favor, opposed, that is carried unanimously. All right, so that takes us on the late items. Any late items to introduce? Okay, any notices of motion? Okay, we'll make the time for public clarification. Nothing worse than getting out of a meeting or not allowing that. So public clarification, so persons recognized by the chair to speak must first state their name and address for the record, and the agenda item for which they are seeking clarification. This excludes public hearing topics, which there were none, and may speak once for up to 2 minutes to ask clarification questions. For example, how'd the vote go, any technicalities, request interpretation, abbreviations, or jargon. Any members of the gallery for public clarification? Okay, moving on in the agenda, so motion to close. I'll make that motion that the regular council meeting be closed to the public pursuant to section 91A, C, D, and K of the community charter. Is there a seconder? Second by Councillor Savage. I will move to call in the question. All those in favor, opposed, that is carried unanimously. Noting the time is 9:03. We'll take a 3-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 9:06.